Hey guys, welcome to the show. And let me start with my mea culpa. I was thinking 4:30 because I'm thinking East Coast. So on my stream, I'm thinking, all right, it starts at 4:30. And they go, oh, wait a minute. I'm in California. That's actually 1:30. And so I'm up there like, why isn't anyone on yet? Don't! And I worked
You're
so
like,
hard
damn,
to
nobody.
promote this
You're like,
video,
nobody
and
loves
then
me.
That's right.
no one loves me, right? So today's
What's up,
topic,
everybody?
right? Now, we welcome all disagreement. So I have to say that I am definitely impressed with Sony this year, but this is not, I don't know, everyone's saying, oh, phone was going to be a shill or something, right? And I have to say, before we get into that, let's introduce my guests today. Brian, Whisper Status, formerly known as Whisper Status, now Brian's Tech Therapy, and many of you may know Youth Man. And so we're here today to talk, and I felt, it was a good change of pace to bring in another friend who's also in the home theater space, but his home theater is, okay, wait, I have to say this. When you guys say that FOMO, you sit too close. Like I sit 6 to 7 feet from a 77-inch or an 85-inch. And then Youth Man inspired me because he says, I don't know what you're talking about, FOMO. I sit 9 feet away from a 120-inch TV. Like, what?
No,
And
you got it
ever
wrong. You got it
since
wrong,
then,
Momo.
right?
It's
And
9 feet from 150-inch.
oh, okay. So full IMAX, and I kept on thinking, does that cause you a problem? He goes, no, I don't need to wear glasses when I sit that close. It's amazing, right? And at CES, they did that experiment where you sat on this moving chair. It's a 98-inch TV, and they moved you 7.5 feet. And I was like, wait, this is just over 50-degree angle. This is kind of like the Youth Man look.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I'm in. So ever since then, ever since you told me you sat 9 feet from 150-inch, I have kept on thinking about it, and I respect you and exactly all the things you do. I think there's no way that he could do that, and apparently it works. So I'm so much
I have
closer.
tons of guests over to my own home, and I've never had one person say, you know what, I feel like I'm sitting on the front of the movie theater. I really need to move to your back seats. Not one person. And I even ask them, like, give me your honest feedback. Is this too close to you? Is it, what do you feel? And they said, man, this is immersive. That's just the word they use every single time. I love it. It's just, I'm in the movie instead of watching a movie. So that's what they really like. And that's why I went with something that big in my room.
Awesome. And I know, Brian, you also sit a bit closer than most people. How far do you sit from your large TVs? You have a 83-inch, you got a 77-inch. What's your chosen distance? Oh, Brian,
Can't hear you,
you're
buddy.
mute. Brian's muted. While we're waiting for Brian, Peter asks, is this for TVs, projectors, or both? Anything. That seating distance, I sit 6 feet away from a 77-inch, 7 feet from 85-inch. I'm completely comfortable. But for Youth Man, it's a projector. So I think the seating distance applies to either one. Brian, are you back? You got you, Brian? No, still can't hear you, buddy. So it's funny because we were talking to Brian for like 10 minutes before the show. Like, what happened? All right. So we'll wait for Brian to fix his audio. Still can't hear you, my friend. Try logging back in, out, and in again, because you're good and you're not on mute.
Maybe
of course it would happen. I know that. I gotta blame it on StreamYard, right? Let's say hello to everyone who's here. Hey, keep it with the Joneses. Thank you for coming by, my friend. And Tony, Don, Brian is not muted. Let me try to mute and unmute him twice. Let's see. Nah, maybe he muted on his side. And Michael Cohen is trying to segue that the Bravia 9 is the best mini LED TV the guys at Ratings have tested. And to me, that's kind of like a veiled compliment because they condition it with best mini LED TV. Today, I'm going to say Sony is nailing it out of the ballpark in 2024. I'm ranking them as the #1 TV brand in 2024. And before everyone starts getting mad, let's jump into it.
Tomatoes.
Throwing tomatoes at me. So here is my position. Sony, as a TV brand, is #1 in 2024. I'm not talking 2023, and who knows what happens next year. And this is why. We'll start with up and down its range. From the most expensive, this year it's the Bravia 9/A95L, all the way down to its more affordable X90L, which is about, for a 65-inch, around $1,000, and the Bravia 9 around $2,700, and the A95L over $3,000. First of all, in that entire range, they share the same XR Clear image processor. That is never done, meaning a TV maker doesn't share its best processor with its ramped down mid-tier and entry level. Samsung, exclusively, its best processor is for like a $6,000, $5,000 8K TV. At the 65-inch size, like maybe 4,000, right? Nothing is shared with that QN900D. Only that TV has the best processor. LG, no differently. The G4, best processor I've seen. Guess what? Exclusive to the G4, another $3,000 plus 65-inch TV. So right there, if you enjoy Sony's image processing, color processing, skin tone, it's accessible at the X90L at just $1,000 for 65-inch. Right there, they've covered so many people. Now, the next one, and this is one where many people say, oh, okay, well, what about the best of the best, the flagship? So the Bravia 9, I've been testing it, I've been reviewing it this entire week, and I have to say, if you haven't seen it, well, you will see it, youth man, at MWAVE. You will be so impressed. You're seeing it in this, here, let me put it in something that is a bit better. There you go. Okay. So you don't know which TV it is because I haven't labeled it for a reason, right? It looks very similar to everything else. But I'll tell you, the Bravia 9 against the best OLED TVs this year. We're talking the S95D from Samsung, over 3,000, the LG G4 from, OLED from LG, their flagship with updated processor, and the Bravia 9. Against those two, it's a few $100 less expensive now that it's got its discount. It doesn't matter. There is so much content I watch from like, wait, did the Bravia 9 just outperform these TVs? And we're not talking like silly little things. We're talking better color volumes, this brightness, right? So you may not see, because I know you're a projector, you're not going to enjoy 4,000 nit content, but above 2,000 nits, right? There are these scenes on YouTube where Jennifer Gala, the HDR Super Channel, if you guys haven't watched it, she keeps on ramping up the same image, brighter and brighter. And each time she ramps it up, the Bravia 9 gets brighter and brighter. The G4 the S95D, right? They jump one step to get brighter, but then the next ramp up to 4,000 nits, they do not get brighter. The G4 loses its color. The S95D doesn't get brighter. And the Bravia 9 not only got brighter, but preserved color luminance, which I've never seen mini LED TVs do. Now, many of you will say, oh, that's an edge case. Who watches 4,000, 10,000 nit content? But that's not the point. We're talking about the best. Sony, you know how it's the chicken and the egg, where I have an 8K TV, but I don't have 8K content. Right. And so they don't make 8K content, so no one buys 8K TV. Here we have a TV that can handle this brightness at this color luminance. You buy the TV, the content will come. And on my review, I will have content, not just Jennifer Gala. But if you haven't seen it, youth man, and it's one of those things where only reviewers watch it, but no one really watches it. The movie is called Alpha. Okay. Have you seen Alpha? I have not. It's a 2018 movie. It's only on Kaleidoscape, apparently. Blu-ray disc is only the Blu-ray 1080p, or if you go international, I think Europe has a 4K UHD version that's region specific to Europe. But on Kaleidoscape, they have it. And it is the only movie where the entire movie, so I went through the whole movie. I have the reference monitor. I'm looking at it. It goes, oh my gosh, scene after scene, 1,500 nits, 2,000, 4,000, 1,500, 2,000, 4,000. It's pushing it, and it's a real movie, right? It's not just some display movie. And this was graded before the new reference monitor that can handle 4,000 spectral highlights came out. Before any TV could handle this, they made this movie. I put it on the TVs. I'm like, my jaw just dropped. I go, wow. I'm seeing what the creator's intending for this movie, because on the reference monitor, it's showing it bright, accurate. And then on the Bravia 9, it's keeping up. The other two TVs, it looked great, but the brightness was not there. Right. And so now we have a TV that actually took a step in front of OLED at the best. So you have the best in front of OLEDs. Now, infinite contrast, the micro contrast that OLED is famous for. In a dark room, in a dimly lit room, light controlled, you'll see the infinite contrast. But here's what shocked me. The differences are minimal enough that for the first time, I would choose the Bravia 9 in all lighting conditions. So if you watch any of my reviews, Youth Man, I normally say, if you don't like control room, dark room, just get the G4, the S95D, just OLEDs, right?
Sure.
The Bravia 9, for the first time, I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable recommending it for people in a light controlled room. If you want to have that HDR impact on the movies that I like to watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
All action movies, future movies, because it's so close to OLED. I don't feel like I'm losing anything, and there's no dimming. Sports is now as bright, if not brighter, than the G4 without that blue-green push, because the G4, to get brighter, its
Mm-hmm.
white is really white. The Sony's still natural, but matches that brightness. I haven't seen an LCD TV do that before. And, well, the real challenge is, does the QM8 keep up? So that's another discussion for another time. But I'm telling you, man, the Sony, the way, oh, and I forgot TV audio, right? So the Netflix research has shown that over 85% of people who watch Netflix, they listen on TV audio. Not even a
Oh
soundbar.
man, come on,
I
guys.
know, right? Not
Get
even a
with it.
soundbar.
Wow.
So if you add TV audio, the
Mm-hmm.
Sony Bravia 9 and the Bravia 7, both mini LED TVs, they knock it out of the ballpark with audio. Like the quad is great because it's those wireless. It
Mm-hmm.
just adds surround. You take
Okay.
away the quads,
Right.
the audio quality is still like up there, and it matches. Timbre matches the quad perfectly. I've never seen that before. So you put that on a TV, and so the Sony becomes the whole package now.
So
It's
just
got
curious,
the
real
image
quick,
quality. Yeah, go ahead.
are the speakers in front or are we talking in the back? Because most time they're in the back and you're having to reflect that sound off your wall. And that's a goofy sound, to be honest with you.
It's a side firing, if that
Okay.
helps.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing facing the back per se.
Right.
Now, it doesn't get super deep. I'm sure it cuts off like
Sure.
above 100
Oh,
hertz.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
it's just enough to say I might not need a soundbar. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
got the G4 is close. The G4, arguably, you might not need it because I do like the audio, but the Sony
Okay.
takes that, gives it a bit more of that frequency range, amps up the volume quite a bit. And as a TV, the Bravia 9 is, I have to say, unconditionally, I can recommend it, even for OLED lovers. And if you pick, like, if you nitpick, like, the one weakness it has, and this
Mm-hmm.
is all OLEDs, in a star field where you have bright stars against a
Sure.
black background, the Sony stars are all there, but it's dimmer than OLED.
Okay.
That's it. And that's something that, you know what, you're going to give up on something. But then on the flip
Mm-hmm.
side, in a bright scene with bright colors, the Sony can hit those colors
Mm-hmm.
at the accurate levels brighter than anyone else, matching the 3110. So it's a give and take, right? If you want OLED, you're watching below 1,000 nits. Bravia 9 looks very similar, but you can save money and get the Bravia
Right.
9 because it's a bit cheaper than both those TVs. But if you're watching bright, man, and if you're afraid of dimming. So another thing with OLED is over time, at a certain brightness level, it will dim.
Mm-hmm.
Or if
Okay.
the scene is too bright, ABL, it will dim. This will not happen on the Bravia 9. And just in regular, standard, or vivid mode, the colors, skin tones are still natural. So that is my position why I think this year, now it doesn't mean that LG and Samsung can't do it next year, but this year I think Sony, just as a TV brand, we're not just limited to Bravia 9. The Sony TV Bravia 9, the A95L, the X90L, and Bravia 7, just as a lineup for people of different budgets, I think it's number one in my book. TCL, great value, but Sony is doing so well with just all the little things. I'm really enjoying it for cinema enthusiasts. So that's it. I
Well, I
had
can
to get
tell
that
you're
out.
excited though. You're like
I
pumped about
am.
it.
He
Well, the
talked that
hype.
whole
I am.
time? He
Yes.
talked that whole time?
Yes.
Yes,
Like I'm
yes.
just,
Damn,
I'm
bro.
done now. I'm done now.
Holy crap.
He's
Oh,
excited. But you know what? The excitement that you shared for the Bravia 9, I'm literally seeing it even on my channel. People are mentioning it.
really?
Yes, they're talking about it. It's pretty hot right now. So that's pretty awesome, man. And I'm excited that we're gonna have them. So I'll
Oh,
get to see
yes.
that firsthand.
So let's talk about that real quick. Let me throw in this MWAVE for us all real quick.
Did you actually introduce Michael other than
I
just say youth
did.
man?
I did. I
Did he
did. Well,
did he
other
breathe
than
to actually introduce
okay,
Michael
okay,
for who
wait.
he is?
Yeah, you're right. I
Why don't
need
you
to
take?
give
Why don't you
more of
hold
an
on?
introduction, right?
It was
Let
in
me
Wait,
do.
wait.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Let
Brian
him
will
take
do
a
a
break.
better job with
Let
that.
him
I
take
just
a
do
break.
terrible job. Right. Okay.
So,
Okay, go
Michael,
ahead,
welcome
Brian.
to FOMO stream. FOMO
Hey,
jumps in.
thanks, man.
He's like, what we have here is the Bravia 9. And you're like, dude, can you tell them where we are, who we are? So Michael is world famous, legendary YouTuber, Youthman. Amazing human being, lovely person, and also has MWAVE. Michael, tell us about MWAVE. Tell us about what you're doing, and we'll be attending it. But Youthman is a legend on YouTube as far as I'm concerned. Followed him for many, many years. Lovely person, great guy. And home theater fanatic, but he is in the heavyweight division of projectors, home theater. So it's funny to come on this stream and hear him talking about the timber matching of a quad from Sony and a TV. Because I know Michael's like, yeah, that's really cute. Why don't you put that in my bathroom?
No, I'm okay. Here's the thing.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Dude, I realize there is a product for everybody. Not everybody can have big subwoofers. Not everybody can have a 7.2.4 Dolby Atmos system. And I get that. And I'm cool with that. So nothing wrong with a sound bar. I just don't want one.
Of course, of course. Oh, but letting you know our comparison, we're going to have Sony's best soundbar system. So this is something that I want you to sit. I'm going to set it up for people like Youthman Michael, right?
Yeah.
Which is you guys are accustomed to 10,000, 20,000 plus systems, right?
Sure.
And I know what they sound like as well. I have one as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to set you up. I'm going to set it in an ideal situation, 7 feet away from all the speakers, right? We're going to have the subwoofer near field, so we don't have to worry about placing enough speakers, so you're going to get the best. And you tell me how close it gets to what you think a good, not just, it's all right, but a good home theater. Could this be the starter set where, to do better, I think you're going to be spending over $5,000, over $6,000, and this entire kit's probably like $3,500.
Sure.
So, and this is like MSRP. I think by Black Friday it's a bit cheaper, but I think this entire kit for under 3,000, it would be the Theater Bar 9 for over 1,000 plus 2 satellites. That's another 600 plus the subwoofers another 600. So yeah, it's close to 3, I think. I think to do better than that, you're going to have to go a bit higher. And the quads sound very similar. So the quads, you might even save a little bit because it's already surround, and all you have to do is add a sub, the SW5. So I can't wait to show that off to you.
Cool.
And we'll have a 98-inch Sony
that's
X90L.
I'll be honest, I'm
it's
excited
gonna
about
match it,
that.
man.
I'm probably more excited about that than I am the Bravia
I know.
9. Even though it's going to look beautiful, I don't know, just something about that big immersive image I've always loved. And I found out from Seymour today, they're bringing a 240-inch diagonal screen for their room.
Now, what laser projector can handle that?
That's
a Christie.
projector.
Which Christie?
You're talking about a $60,000 projector. So it's a.
I thought you were going to go up to 100. So you got the mid-tier, the entry level Christie.
Yeah, it's the entry level. Literally, it's kind of the entry level Christie. Of course, they make projectors like the Eclipse. That's about $400,000. So they're not bringing that. That takes like a big, massive air conditioner just to keep the thing cool.
Right.
But yeah, so I love an immersive image. I always have.
So it's cool, Michael.
And now I'm going to take this down, and I'm going to ask you, so this is the theme, right? So I know you missed a lot of my diatribe about how I'm so impressed with Sony this year. And before anyone says, and I know you get this all the time, you know, is FOMO on Sony's payroll, blah, blah, blah. So
you got paid last week, you told me.
Yeah, there we go. I have never been sponsored by Sony. It would be nice, but I have not been. Yeah. Yes, I had to drive to Culver City to spend 2 days there. And yes, they paid for my accommodations. But I'll tell you this, most of the footage, the days I spent there, I did not use. I used one bit of footage and one of Brian walking to Sephora shopping for skincare. That was it. And the food, let's just say it's corporate. I mean, it is what it is. It's not terrible, Sony, but I would have made probably more had I sat at home for those 3 days and made my own videos. But I did want to experience that, hey, what's Sony doing, right? But ultimately, all the information came out anyway. So it wasn't like they put me on this trip to Hawaii where I got to surf
Yeah,
for 5
right.
days. Now, you
Yeah,
know what? I could see where there's some bias there. But, you know, this
yeah.
is me just driving down the street to Culver City, not a big deal.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, though, I was unable to really compare anything because it just had all the TVs, right, in a vacuum.
Sure.
Now that I have it, I'm just so impressed. And I think
Yeah.
others are as well. And I know we have a couple of super chats. We'll get to it. Eric Roberts, I see you, as well as Tone Control. But Brian, I've been hogging up the dialogue because I'm
No
Hopefully
so
it's
doubt.
fine.
excited.
Okay, there we go.
Is
Hopefully
my
you're
audio?
Yeah, you're
Your
good.
audio is perfect. You're in now. So, what are your thoughts about
Oh, it's cutting out
my?
again.
Just when he was about to talk, he cut out.
Right.
Brian,
Yeah, it cut out. It's cutting
oh,
out, Ryan.
you cut out. Literally, you just cut out, man. I am so sorry. So while I wait for Brian to get his audio up, let's answer this super chat. Eric Roberts, low lit room will be used for Series X gaming, streaming, and also for watching sports. Should I get the 75-inch Bravia 9 or the 65-inch LG G4? We can hear
Mhm.
you. We can hear you, Brian.
I feel I'm about to
Okay,
lose
a
my
70
mind right now. Go ahead.
Getting mad. Your
I'm about to
skin
take.
tone is glowing anymore. It's starting to
I
turn
know.
red.
I'm about to throw my whole system out the window.
Oh,
He's like,
for
"What's up?"
streaming and sports, Eric,
Mhm.
I want to go with size. I do believe the G4 is better in a few things for sure. However, the size of the Bravia 9, that extra bit of immersion, trumps those little things because with immersion, everything you watch, everything you play on looks better. It's just bigger. Whereas the G4, those, I would say the micro contrast, the occasional, maybe arguably like the bright stars, that will be slightly better, but you're not going to see that all the time. Whereas 75 inches, you will see all the time. So I would recommend getting the 75-inch Bravia 9 for a similar price. Brian, what do you think? Eric Roberts' question.
I mean, gaming is still going to be better on an OLED because the instant
Mhm.
response time and contrast ratio, obviously. But the Bravia 9 is good enough. Its game mode is good enough for even PC gaming as long as you don't need 144 hertz. So it is really good all around. The G4 is going to be the better gaming TV, but the Bravia 9 I think is the better overall display,
Mhm.
primarily due to Sony's processor. I mean, and obviously if you go in 85, you have the larger size, Michael, which matters in this conversation.
Yep.
And well, I like that Michael's here because on a projector, Michael, we know that the contrast is not there. The brightness, you're lucky to even hit 100 nits ever,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so what do you look at when you're comparing projector? Is just the size
Sure.
because I have an ultra short throw against my wall, and my wife
Right.
loves it. She doesn't care that it doesn't do HDR. She just loves it against the wall. She loves the
Sure.
size.
Yeah.
How do you feel about immersion size versus pure image quality?
Sure. So I think the great thing with projectors nowadays is that you can get an amazing image with projection. You know, back in the day when I first saw projection at like a home theater store, this is, my goodness, maybe 15, 20 years ago, probably longer than that. It was okay. I mean, it looked nice, but it wasn't amazing. Now
Mhm.
technology's just gotten so good. Yes, it's not TV quality, but when you have like just a beautiful picture that's bright enough to me to watch movie, it's not dark, it's not dim, but it's adequate for the screen size. It's got good contrast, and one thing I love is deep blacks. And
Deep
so, of
blacks.
course, we don't have an OLED in the projector world for the most part. Christie comes very, very close, but you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that inky black. So for
Mhm.
the average person with a Sony, JVC, Epson, those are the three main players in the projector world. JVC, that's where my heartbeat is, man. I love the blacks on it. I love the contrast. The color saturation is beautiful. And it's bright enough, but you're right. You're not going to get 1,000 nits or anywhere close to that in projector world, but it's an incredible experience. And like I said, me personally, I would take a 150 inch, 130 inch over like a 70 inch OLED any day of the week if it's in a light controlled room. You know, like my projector is a JVC NZ800. It would look horrendous in my living room because it's a lot of ambient light. You put it in a dedicated theater room, fully light controlled, it looks beautiful. So you have to pick the right product for the right environment, just like you do in the TV world.
Well, Michael too, though. But I mean, I think with projectors, everything looks good on them. Big grain structure, older film, newer film, Ready Player One, anything that's even Jaws, HD, 4K, they look amazing. SDR, or not SDR, just regular standard definition looks amazing. And the grain structure hurts bright TVs at times. It's too noisy. On projectors, they always look amazing. That filmic presentation looks flawless every time.
Yeah.
Something TVs can't do, actually. They have a strong grain structure. They can look noisy. The processing on some of these other brands really struggles. Projectors does not have that at all. And you add the screen and the size, and they can beat TVs in that way, at least in my thoughts.
Yeah. And I love the fact that I can put speakers directly behind my screen. Can't do that on TV yet.
No, definitely not.
There's some trade-offs. And again, you as a consumer, you need to figure out what's important to you. Is it brightness? Is it black levels? Is it immersiveness? Is it, whatever? Do you want a more natural reflected light, which is how we see most light and objects in the world? The sun isn't shooting right in our face like this. I'm seeing reflected light off my desk. I'm seeing reflected light off this microphone. So to me, that's a more natural feeling when you're watching a movie versus me looking at an emitted light from a TV. And again, that's a preference. Some people like that. Some people don't.
Of course.
But you got to figure out what works for you. I'm not saying that projectors are better than TVs. They just have a different role and they have a different purpose.
Yeah, I agree. Tone Control has a question. Thank you for the super chat. Best OLED TV, the X90. I assume you mean maybe the S90D from Samsung. The A95L Sony Bravia 8 is Sony's WOLED TV this year, and the LG G4, which is LG's MLA flagship TV for this year. Use mostly movies, no light issues, so light control, streaming, DVD, PS5, high-end system.
G4.
I would say the G4.
Better Dolby Vision implementation.
go.
It's the brightest of the group. The processing is on point. Just cut to the chase. G4. The A95L is amazing. It can't compete with the G4 toe-to-toe, really. And the Alpha 11 makes up the difference. So there you go. Sorry.
Literally took
no
the
gaming
words out of my mouth.
Yeah, just the Dolby Vision implementation is better, and it's brighter, and the Alpha 11 is no joke. So otherwise, the A95L would be there. It's a second-gen QD OLED. If it was a third-gen QD OLED, we could really talk. But other than that, I would say the G4 wins that.
And the kicker, Tone Control, it comes in an 83-inch.
It does,
so even
absolutely.
That's the best 83-inch OLED you're going to get, period, end of story. And if you have a high-end home theater system, it's a no-brainer, right? There's nothing else in the 83-inch OLED size that comes close. That, 8095L stops at 77. Yep.
Well, what I love about having Michael on is when we were at MWAVE, Fomo and I are in the TV room, right? And we had a 100-inch QN90A. We had everything else was 65-inch Fomo. Then I think we had an 83-inch G3 or G2. But the amount of folks that came in, Michael, it's a testament to you and the people you gathered. There was no competition whatsoever. Everybody that walked in was so open to, let me see what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
And they were, and we were in rooms, NZ9s, we had Sony projectors. I mean, the setups that were there was so funny, FOMO. We were packing up the TVs, no matter how expensive they were, it was like we were packing up Target. Because I mean, I never was more.
It was like 4 times that price tag. Yeah.
Well, they were putting them in crates. You guys were having crates and crowbars like the Mummy. And FOMO and I were putting in these little boxes. And I was like, I'll just throw it in the garbage.
Almost got one under his armpit.
But it was the amount of guys that came in that had that enthusiast eye for projectors that were open to both. And why that impresses me is they were able to step into the next room over and then kind of reset their palette.
Sure.
And then say, okay, this is size and filmic and beautiful and accurate. Right. And then TVs have that tack sharp, but they're smaller. And what I loved about the guys from MWAVE is they were looking at the TVs as an addition to their home theaters. So there's not a competition of what replaces what. It was more like, and that's what I think FOMO's point is too with the Bravia 9 is, so I have my home theater room with that you build piece by piece. Speakers, amps, and then you're saying to yourself, well, maybe for the family room, I do grab a Bravia 9.
100%.
And maybe this quad system, and then they look at that price tag, Michael, and they say, wait a minute, it's only this?
Right.
My amp costs more than that. And that was so cool to watch that discovery FOMO, especially
Yeah.
with the TCLs. They were like, wait a minute, at 85, this thing is $2,000.
Yeah.
And that openness of everybody that attended, I thought was very impactful, because I was kind of ready to have that conversation about, hey, it's brighter, it's
Right.
darker. Everybody
Yeah.
was just open to it.
Yeah.
And it was I don't think one can really replace the other, which I think is better. It's a beautiful thing. And even as these TVs get to be 100 inches,
Mhm.
I think the only group that gets hurt is that short throw group,
I
is
agree
where
with that, Brian. I
they get
really
squeezed out a little
Yeah.
bit.
I could
Yeah,
easily
absolutely.
see that. I've shared that with my audience. Short
Yeah.
throws were great. Ultra short throws were great because they filled that gap.
Yep.
Somebody that wanted a bigger TV but couldn't get that in because the highest at that time was like 75-inch. And
Yeah.
so here comes 100-inch, and they're like, oh my gosh, or 120. Some
Yep.
very few could do 150. And they're not the most amazing projectors, but they look good and they're quite immersive and they're good enough, like you say, with some of the TVs that are out there. But when you have these 100-inch TVs coming in now, and 110s and 120s are right around the corner, then you're going to see, okay, we've got some serious competition, and these TVs are going to blow away the image quality of these ultra short throws. And so I see they're going to get pushed out. But I don't see these large format TVs replacing projectors. Again, different application.
Yeah. Well, and if you want that size,
yep.
As we've talked about FOMO, if you're somebody in the heavyweight division, 83, 85, I could never go back to 77. Behind me is a 77-inch QD OLED.
Say
I
that
love
again.
it. So when you have something that's 85 inches, 83 inches, I have a 77-inch QD OLED. I love it. I could never go back down. And that pulling yourself closer doesn't change anything. So you can, if that was the case, we'd all have monitors. So anyone we've talked to in the projector space that likes that certain size, I don't care if these TVs are, unless they're 150, they're not going to wipe out projectors. Projectors are going to excel because those guys are not going to go back down for better blacks.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've gotten. Even MWAVE, they're like, that thing's really nice, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Because they want that size.
Sure.
Quick super chat from Mark Douglas. Thank you, Mark. He says, I'm going to be mounting a 77-inch, I assume 75-inch, Bravia 9 flat against my wall with the A9 Mark II, which is probably the quad you're referring to, right? Last year's HTA9, this year's the quad, or 2 years ago was the HTA9. This year's the quad, so I guess that's the Mark II. How will the TV speaker work for center sync when flat against the wall? So the TV is still doing its center channel thing with the quads. That doesn't change. And the quads, you're using an app on your phone. Your phone is like a microphone. It then kind of syncs up everything. It calibrates it to each other and the room. I mean, it's a pseudo room correction. But ultimately, Mark, that center is just to add more volume. It doesn't change the dialogue, or it doesn't center anymore. The phantom channel on the quads are phenomenal. Now, if you're sitting to a far side, that might not be perfect, right? It may, I don't know if it'll drift or not because I've been listening to it straight on. However, if you're sitting center, you really don't need the center sync. That's why I love it for any TV. But with the center sync, what you can do is move a bit off and you'll still keep that center or the dialogue channel centered on that TV for sure. And it could go up a bit louder. So it will work well. I don't think it makes a difference that you're wall mounted. And yeah, let me know if there's anything specific because I've been testing it with a quad. And I think the Bravia 9 audio is great, but the quad adds that immersion that I really think is essential for the full immersive experience. But there's been this ongoing conversation here about Brian's recommendation and my endorsement of the G4 as that TV for the movie watch. Feeling, well, what about the S95D and the A95L? You can't unsee the additional color volume. And above a certain luminance, I completely agree. You will see it start to desaturate over a certain brightness, but most movies, streaming and stuff, they really do look identical to me, like Netflix, right? Most of the stuff on Netflix, you'll have a hard time saying, oh, this is the S95D or the G4. What I do like about the G4 is that, well, it comes in 83-inch size. For me, that's the kicker. There is no QD OLED option. if you're willing to stop at 77 inches, then you have your S95D and you have your A95L. The S95D is a mixed bag because you have to deal with, well, is this going to be the TV that has Dolby Vision, doesn't have Dolby Vision? Not important to me. I'm the one that doesn't care about it. But then people come back, oh, I was looking for Dolby Vision. S95D doesn't have Dolby Vision. Not a big deal if that's not important to you, not important to me. But if it is, then you're down to LG and Sony. And like Brian said, if that is important, you might as well get the TV that has good Dolby Vision out of the box. A95L, still working on it. So only if it's important to you. If not, then it is between the G4 and the A95L up to the 77-inch size. So just wanted to cover that. And tone control follows up. Bravia 9 or LG G4, smart use as before. So smart TV.
I think he said same use as before. I probably wrote smart use. What is smart use?
Smart use. I like Tizen as a smart TV.
Oh, for the smart features. Gotcha.
So if you say as a smart TV, right? I think Samsung has the resources to make that part of it better, meaning the whole Tizen thing. Now, the G4 has that AI content matching, this, that, and the other. I don't know if that's what you mean by smart. I like the smart TV UI on Tizen better than either Google TV on the Bravia 9 or the G4. So if you throw that in, then I would suggest the S95D, but again, only goes up to 77 inches. So, but how about you guys? Do you guys have a preference for operating system? Like, do you plug in a Roku? Actually, Michael, do you plug in a Roku? Like, what's your operating system since you're using a projector?
Yeah, so most regular projectors, like a long throw or just a standard throw, does not have any like intelligent features. It doesn't have any Netflix capability, Hulu.
That's perfect,
Disney
actually.
No, so
we'd rather have that.
You feed it whatever you want. So in my case, for a while I was using a NVIDIA Shield, then I switched to the Apple TV 4K. So that's pretty much my go-to for streaming in the theater room. Kaleidoscape would be for movies plus 4K disc, and then I do have a Revolution media player that I use to play some like ripped media content from my collection as well.
Okay, so same use, not smart use. All right, I got it now.
Mm.
So Brian, you've seen the 85-inch. So we're going to talk about this at an 85-inch size, right? Or 75. We're talking the larger sizes. Bravia 9 or G4, same use. Bravia 9 is LCD TV, mini LED. We've both seen it. We've seen the G4. And let's review his use one more time. It is
just it's very basic. It's some Series X, I think, with some gaming. No, mostly movies.
Yes, so movies mostly, right?
Yep. Now it goes the other way. Now because
and he has a high-end, he has a high-end theater system, so forget the audio.
Okay. Right. So yeah, so now it goes back. Now it goes the other way because the 85-inch size, that little bit does make a difference. Those TVs are larger. Then it goes back to the Bravia 9. At the same size, I don't feel they compete with each other. I do still favor the OLEDs at the same size. The Bravia 9 to me still needs the extra 2 inches to make it more immersive. As Michael says, that little bit is a big difference. I mean, I know I've spent time with those sizes all the time. The Bravia 9 does have a larger bezel, so it does look bigger than an 83. It's not like a Samsung bezel-less. Then I go back the other way, and primarily for movie watching, that ability to have that peak brightness will matter. Then Bravia 9 takes it.
Okay. And just to confirm, Dwayne Davis informed us that he measured the Bravia 9 85-inch and the 65-inch at Value Electronics, identical brightness, identical windows. So other than possibly slight differences subtly in color between an AUO 85-inch panel and the smaller sizes, but the performance on his measurements and on his meters, identical. So as far as he's concerned, it performs just as well. But when you take that same brightness and you expand it to 85 inches, it does feel brighter. Contrast might feel like a bit punchier, but that's perception. And now the G4 is still a good TV at 83 inches.
Of course.
I personally, I would take either one. I mean, if it's only movie watching and stuff like that, they look so similar. And I have to say the G4 out of the box filmmaker mode looks phenomenal. But the Bravia 9 does have that extra brightness punch in some scenes. But I'll
tell you, regardless of what he measured, I'm not interested in that.
Right.
That doesn't matter actually.
You felt the 85 inch was better.
It doesn't matter.
than
So
65.
you can measure till the cows come home. The reason why Michael
Uh-huh.
is saying that the projectors are bright enough is why. It's because there's 200 inches of that light immersing you. The 85 inch, regardless of
Mhm.
how it measures,
Mm.
I had to shield my eyes, and I spent time with 4 or 5 different 65 inches, and I spent time with 2 different 85 inches. So it doesn't matter to me what's measured. To
Mm.
me, it's what's more impactful. And the impact of a larger TV by default is it's just brighter. There's more screen space. There's more light coming at you. There's just it's what it is. Even the G3 at 83 was much brighter. The reason why the 80 or the 97 inch G4 doesn't need MLA is because it's 97 inches. That's from
Okay.
LG. They don't have MLA for that reason. It's going to be as perceptibly bright. So my point is for these guys, larger TV, more immersive. You're going to feel that brightness over the G3 at an 85 inch size. 65 or 65, it's going to be harder to feel because the G4 is very bright. But Michael, wouldn't
Now-
you agree that's why it feels bright enough on projectors? That size, that screen size gives you that brightness just because it's more immersive.
That's an interesting thought. I noticed you got this is totally off, but I mean, y'all are like darker color than I am. Like I'm like pale. I think you're getting like some heat from those things, like some brightness. Like it's
Yeah,
tan.
that's
in
why
your
I'm
body.
tan. That's why I got this color, baby. I'm right
It's
in front
from
of you.
1,000 nits, man. I got 100 nits.
I'm
over
Irish.
here. No, that's an
And I want
interesting
to
thought, though.
go
is
ahead, Michael. I'm sorry. Yeah.
having that big of a screen, and that's the light is being dispersed across that. I don't know. I mean, that I've never thought of it that way. Like I said, I've just looked at it as it's bright enough for my use case scenario. Now, I did have a projector that was a JVC NX7. NX7 on a 150 inch screen isn't ideal. I don't even remember what I was getting nit wise, but it just wasn't bright enough. And so you really have to make sure in the projector world that you pair it with the right size screen that it's capable of. Good thing with TVs, they do that at the manufacturing plant. You know, you don't have to worry about that dynamic. You just figure out what works best for you and how close you're going to be sitting and how bright you want it. But you don't have to worry about matching up a projector with a size screen. So that takes part of that equation out of it.
What I do like about that, what you're saying too, Michael, though, is that you can also build the system little by little.
Sure.
So we were at MWAVE. What I thought was great was guys were also talking about, hey, look, I might want to sell my projector and upgrade to one of these, one of the vendors you had there. So that was always great to say, like, hey, you know, John, I'm selling my projector. You get a 100-inch TV. You're selling the house with that. You know, if you can even get it in the door. So that flexibility of projectors is very much like your audio system. You can piecemeal it and then save up for that better reflective screen or a transparent screen for your speaker. So I love that ability to build it slowly.
And I think back to Tone Control's original request, this comment from Seconds84 I think is important because we don't talk about quality control. Apparently the G4 83-inch, on the owners' forums, they're complaining of uniformity, DSC, which has always been a problem with the larger OLED TVs at the 83-inch size. So assuming the 85-inch Bravia 9 has less of an issue, then this may end up being what trumps the decision for most people. Because if you notice uniformity, you notice the DSC on the 83-inch, and the Bravia 9 doesn't have it or has less of it, that actually ruins the image more than anything else. But then on the flip side, consider this as well. The Bravia 9, well, I know Tone Control has, I think, a light control room. It's okay. But for many people who don't have a light control room, you're going to get a rainbow reflection, right, Brian? And make sure if you get a Bravia 9, you don't have a bright light behind you because you will have that rainbow spread, which is kind of weird, very similar to the Samsung that bothered a lot of people, whereas on the G4 it's limited to just that spot, but it's just like a little rainbow, which is fine. I mean, they all have flares, but LG reduces the flare to just that little bit. The Sony goes across the entire screen, and
I don't know why they chose
maybe
that.
the deal breaker.
Yeah, you know what's funny? It's funny. We did that with Samsung. We were at Samsung, and FOMO by accident. You had that bright light, remember?
Yeah.
And he was just trying on the light, Michael, and he just hit the screen with it. He's like, "Oh my god!" And it looked like a bunch of lasers were on the screen. So I think it's probably better with some ambient light, but not with sunlight. And I had the 800D here. I could not watch it during the day, which is counterintuitive considering it's a bright LED.
Right.
But the G4 is better for that. And real quick about quality control, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It also depends on units sold. Because if you go by that, then Samsung, we always say that, you know, Samsung has bad quality control, but then again, they sell 5 times the amount of TVs.
Sure, that makes sense.
So that can happen for the G4. It can happen with a lot of things. So it's always hard to go by. We've heard that over the years. This one model is terrible. Like Samsung had, Samsung had the dropouts last year. That was something that was definitely confirmed. But a lot of times you have to be careful of thinking something has bad quality control because it could just be that group is more vocal. There's more amount of it. So it's hard to paint a certain TV with that brush. Robert is somebody that's good with Value Electronics because he checks them and they'll say, okay, out of 30, we had 5 ones that we sent back, and they do send them back. So I always ask him which ones I think are struggling.
They will check for uniformity. And thank you, Dan Goldenberg, for the super chat. He says, I'm sensitive to stutter in panning shots, very much like me. For under $1,500, 65 inches, should I do the QM851G, the U8N, or the LG C3? I think this year the QM851G addressed stutter very well. I'm very happy with the way they addressed it. So as far as TCL is concerned, the stutter is done without introducing too much soap opera, just barely a little bit, right? It's acceptable for me. U8N is right there, although there are some artifacts the QM8 does not have. And the C3, I was not as... So the C3, it's just not an HDR TV for me. It's just not bright enough for me. But
I love that you
know, for a lot of
became a
people, it's
mini
great.
LED guy out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, the C3, it's like I would never consider the C3, nor would I consider an A80L. Right?
Michael. FOMO was the little TV guy for the longest time, right? Yeah, little
Tiny little
65.
TV.
They're cute. I like them. I can move them around. And then he was OLED hardcore. And then last year, he's like, you know what's great? 100-inch TV.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, FOMO, I'm looking for 55-inch OLED. They're like, you know what I have for you? Hisense, 100-inch. Done. So now he's a mini LED guy at large size. I love how it, because if they watched him 2 years ago, they're like, wait a minute, what happened?
Wait, we're there. And I don't even have an 98-inch TV yet.
We don't even know.
Hey, Mark has a follow-up about the quad. Concern was the TV speakers firing directly against the wall when wall mounting. So the quad was designed specifically to be wall mounted. It knows when it's against the wall. So it'll probably use room boundary correction for you, and you probably get even more sub-bass against the wall. But don't worry, when you have it room calibrated, it will know it's against the wall. So that's all good. It doesn't affect the sound negatively because it will make the adjustment, the necessary adjustment. If you look at all of their brochures, actually, they intend for you to mount it on the wall. So you should be okay. Should be okay there. So the sound should be okay. I have, if anything, because it has that wall mounting bracket, they want you to mount it on the wall. And if there's still a few inches, maybe 1 inch, 2 inches off the wall, so even with the bracket, it's already designed to be spaced perfectly, right? So I highly recommend that. Try it out, Mark, and let us know how it sounds. Jeffrey, you have a super chat, but I don't see your question, so let me see.
There's some money.
I know. Just, hey, thank you for the money, but where's the super chat question? There's go. And Jeffrey. There we go, found it. 98-inch TCL QM8 or Sony Bravia 9. The Bravia 9 doesn't come in 98-inch. I gotta go with the size. How close is the QM8 now that you have compared to your master monitor? Oh, Jeffrey, I am going to compare the QM8 with the Bravia 9 this weekend. I'm done. Well, actually, I take it back. It's right there in front of you. What you're seeing right there is the Bravia 9, the QM8, and the G4. Looking at that, I'm going to say, you know what? Get the QM8. It's 98-inch. It's so close. What the hell? So that's the craziness of it all. The QM8 is that close to the Bravia 9. Now, subtleties, nuanced. The one thing the QM8 does not do as well. You saw the shadow details. In my QM8 review, the Bravia 9 destroys it in shadow detail. Its shadow detail is near OLED level. That's how good it is. OLED shadow detail would be, I'd say, just barely a tier above. It's noticeable. But the Sony Bravia 9 is so close to OLED than it is to the QM8. And the QM8 51G is good, but I saw some crushing. I did not see any crushing on the Bravia 9. What separated was the OLED was just slightly brighter to source, the source being my reference monitor. So even though my Bravia 9 is calibrated, in the dark scenes, Dune 2, right, her face, where you have that shadow, the Bravia 9 looks just like OLED, except a few nits or a few percentage brightness points below that, but there's no crushing. If you go to brightness preferred, boom, it looks just like the OLED in those dark scenes. So that's what brightness preferred is for. Brightness preferred is not for specular highlights. Gradation preferred handles that. It's for darker scenes. So in Dune 2, if you have tone mapping on brightness preferred, all those dark scenes with shadow detail will look just like OLED if you go to brightness preferred. But if you stay at gradation, it will feel just a little bit darker. On the QM8, the highlights are as bright, but then everything crushes down. So that would be the difference. If you watch a lot of moody kind of content, and this is a spoiler because it'll be in my review against the QM8, you will notice that the QM8 will be slightly crushed compared to the Bravia 9. So it just depends on your content, but the 98-inch is just undeniable. I get that because it's 98 inches. It's that close though. So it's just something to think about. And the colors are I'm just so impressed by the color of the QM8. My QM8 is not calibrated. The Bravia 9 is. The G4 is not. They're all in their most accurate filmmaker mode or movie mode on the QM8. And look at this color, right? They're very similar. So yeah, you know what? Go for the 98-inch QM8, man. Enjoy the size. Brian, what are your thoughts about Jeffrey's size question? Bravia 9 at 85 or 98-inch QM8 for probably a few thousand more?
I mean, the 85-inch, the problem is it's not going to grow up and become a 98-inch.
Yeah.
So if you need that size, Jeffrey, you answered your own question. The TCL is good enough, whereas Michael alluded to with projectors a number of years ago, and even TVs that were that big, you really suffered with the picture quality. Or even Sony's own X90L at 98 inch is not a TV that I think compares to the Bravia 9, but the QM8 does. And so does the Hisense U8N that was 100 inches. So these larger TVs are now higher quality. Remember the TCL a couple years ago, Foma didn't have very good local dimming, if any.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah,
you know, you're not making any compromise. I will just tell you that the processing that does fall behind a little bit is more evident at that size.
Mhm.
So screen uniformity issues are going to jump out at you. Motion problems are going to be more evident at 98 inches. So as long as you need that size, that's the option. It's a good enough TV.
Hey, tone control, we just find out his last TV was a 9-year-old LCD TV, 75-inch XPR. Get the Bravia 9
win-win, bro.
color,
Get
dude.
whatever you want.
Oh, man.
If you already
get
have,
the Bravia 9, you're done.
Yeah, if you have an LED already, unless you want something different, these are light years better.
Yeah.
But you'll be happy no matter what you get.
Or go 98-inch with a QM8. I mean, if you're going to go big at a home theater, right?
I mean, those TVs, the problem with those TVs, they better be your one and only, because
yeah,
I mean, how are you going to switch that out? I mean, no one wants 85-inch TVs from us, so not alone, you know, hey, Aunt Smith or Aunt whoever, I'm Betty, come grab this 100-inch from my basement. Like, where are you putting
bring
that
the
thing?
truck.
Yeah, bring your friends. I mean, you have to take the walls out, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
What's up, Getty?
Getty, hey Getty, he's another regular. Here's a great question. Why can't OLED TV brands make an 83-inch QD-OLED? So we start with who makes QD-OLED. That's Samsung Display. If they don't make an 83-inch, no one has access. So the question is, why does Samsung Display make an 83-inch QD-OLED for Sony and whoever wants to use it? And the answer is quite simple, because it's a brand new technology. They have to make the size to recoup the cost of developing that technology. And the most popular sizes are 55, 65, now 77, and the smaller monitors, right? You make 83 and only a few people buy it. It doesn't recoup that cost. It takes way too long. What they're going to do is recoup as much of the cost as possible, and then at a certain
really up front,
point,
and then they
right?
okay, that makes sense.
Well, it's just like the 83-inch MLA, right? It took a couple of years, or the 83-inch OLED, period. It took a couple of years for them to come out. So at some point, when the accountant says, okay, you're good, reinvest.
We're in the black. You go ahead, make the
right.
bigger TVs.
Well,
Or
and
they
I mean,
may never do it. They may never do it, actually.
Well, I mean, and we talked to Samsung Displays. The fact is, they much rather sell a lot more monitors and smaller reference monitors than that niche group that spends on 83, Michael. Especially now, Michael, real quick with projectors, I wanted to ask you, are you seeing that people are a little more sensitive to how expensive they are? Because we see with TVs, the prices of, let's just say the Bravia 9's 85 inches. It's $5,000, which is actually a bargain at that size.
Sure. A lot of people are going, holy cow, that's $5,000 for a TV.
Yeah. So the TV group has, and where, a couple of years ago, an 83-inch A90J was $8,000 and no one said a word.
Yeah.
Are you seeing with projectors that people are looking at the prices now and saying, hey, wait a second, this is too much? Or are you used to that? Are you seeing that from the price point?
So you'll always have people that can afford the $5,000 TV. You'll always have people that can only afford the $500 or $1,000 or $1,200 TV. And so the good thing is they've made a market they've made a product for all markets. In the projector world, that's a little bit more expensive, but you still can get an affordable BenQ projector. You can get an affordable, even a smaller Epson projector. If you've got the money, you can bump up to the Sonys or the JVCs. When I first started my home theater here in this home, let's see, 18 years ago, my budget was $3,000, and that was a stretch. I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of money for a projector. I was looking at JVC, wanted one, but there was no way I had $7,500. It was twice the cost or over twice the cost of the Panasonic, which is what I had. And then later on, I got another Panasonic, about the same price, $2,500. Later on, a $3,000 Epson 5040 UV. Later on, went to JVC NX7, then the NZ8, and now the NZ800. So, I'm at a different place now than I was 18 years ago. And your audience here, and even my audience, most of my audience don't have a projector. Probably 2/3 of my audience, even though I'm home theater, that's like my topic, that's my niche.
Yeah.
I still encourage my audience that you can have a cool home theater in a living room. You have a cool home theater in a bedroom. It doesn't have to have a projector. To me, the TV doesn't define whether or not it's a theater. If it's a theater experience, enjoy it. I'm not one of those guys, the elitist that says, you got to have a blank size screen and a projector to really have a theater. I mean, come on, man. Let everybody else into the club. This ain't that exclusive club. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
Right.
Love
Let's
that.
all celebrate each other. But yeah, so what's hard is, in the projector world, JVC, they're not necessarily their entry level, but in the NZ series, you've got the last year we had the NZ7, the NZ8, the NZ9.
Yep.
You're talking like $10,000. I don't even remember the exact number, but let's just say $10,000, $15,000, and then $25,000.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the middle, man. I'm not at the $25,000 category. YouTube ain't paying me that well. Maybe for FOMO, but not me, man.
Well, Michael, a couple of years ago, was that 7 around the same price, or has it gone up or down?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're TVs.
For the most part, the projectors they've done pretty well. Now receivers, 30% more expensive. Speakers, 20-30% more. So a lot of the electronics have gone up, but projectors have, at least for the most part, they've been pretty even keel over at least the past couple of years.
Because TVs have taken a dive in terms of their prices.
So
What was acceptable 3 years ago is now out of this world, because $5,000 for a Bravia 9, which is their flagship.
Sure.
When the Z9K was $10,000, people are like, "Yeah, it's too expensive, man."
They're not buying that. They're just going to wait. And the great thing with technology is, if you're patient, man, literally in a couple of years, you're going to get the same thing for a whole lot less. But the flip side is there's going to be something even better. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, this certain TV was their in-game TV. And I said, there's no in-game TV.
No,
it changes too rapidly. That technology is just crazy.
Well, Michael, doesn't your families always say, like, "Hey, you're done after this, right?" Yeah, I'm done after this.
they know that. Like, look, he's going to do what he wants to do. This is my job. This is what I do. This is my passion. So
that's awesome.
Nah, I don't think Jessica's ever.
No.
Yeah, she sees another box, and like literally this door right here, you can't see it. That door's shut because I just moved a big subwoofer out of here. Just moved the MAVVR NV Extreme Mark II out of there. Because stuff just everywhere in my house, in my garage. Yeah, there's always new boxes.
There's not a thing of just being content. You can always. I think that's part of the fun of this too. Is
Yeah.
you're not just done. You can continue to upgrade and
And the good
change.
thing with us, we get we were talking about this earlier. We get the privilege of playing with some really cool toys, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Really cool.
We may get them for
Yeah.
30 days or 60 days, 90 days. Sometimes we get to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
them, whatever, or buy them at a discount. But man, we got the best jobs in the world. And then we get to hang out with these great folks in the chat and hear what's going on in their life and what their interests are and helping them with questions. And so that's fun, man.
Well, speaking of that, we have 369 watching or in the chat
Yeah.
now around that time. So
Yes,
please hit
we
the like
do.
button. We're here with Michael, Youthman, who is also the founder of MWAVE, which will be attending next week in Kansas City. Michael, this is how many years for MWAVE for you?
So this is our third year. We started in January of 2020. I'm sorry, June of 2022. Or
Yep.
I'm sorry, one more time. July of 2022. Last year we did it in June of 2023.
Yep.
And so this will be our third year in 2024.
Yeah. And what an amazing event. I mean, as we talked about it, we're just handling this little part of the TVs, but going from room to room, I know that's a lot of stress on you guys to set that up, but even being only your second year, FOMO was there the first year. I was there last year. What a great experience and what amazing people. You know, we all have name tags and Michael does this thing where if your name tag is flipped over, you know, not inadvertently, it just, he comes over and it just, you flip it over and hundreds of people are walking up to each other and pointing to the name tag and saying, "Oh, hey, I'm Brian."
Your name
So it was really cool.
For me, MWAVE is more than just the gear. I mean, we all get excited about the TV, the latest, greatest projector, the big bad subwoofers and things like that. But at the end of the day, to me, what's most valuable is the friendships, the relationships.
Oh, no doubt.
And so FOMO mentioned earlier, the camaraderie there, and Brian mentioned earlier, the camaraderie there, it's not about competition. We got 9 different content creators coming this year.
Yep.
Dude, we're like friends. We hang out together. We enjoy
no
each other. We promote each other. So that's a cool dynamic. But then you've got the community that come and they engage with each other. And really a big part of MWAVE is the relationships, the friendships you make during the event. It's a small event. I mean, we're not Cedia. We don't have thousands of people. We started out in 2022 with 83 people total with vendors. It was only like 2 or 3 vendors. Then last year we had just over 300. And then this year we're just over 400 with about a week to go. So we continue to increase. We continue to grow. But this year we've got like 17 rooms. There's 6 full Dolby Atmos massive systems. We've got a huge TV collection for you guys to enjoy. I mean, we're really just trying to provide cool opportunities, cool experiences. Let's have some fun. Let's get the community together. Let's celebrate each other. And
Michael, what I love too is as a hobby, you're having people that come in and they want to learn.
Yeah.
And where I think AV was always like almost like the PC gaming community can be pretty closed and people are afraid to ask questions.
Sure.
It was great to have people walking from room to room.
Yeah.
And FOMO and I were sandwiched between 2. What was the subwoofer?
JTRs.
JTR on one side and probably who did we have on the other side?
Like the neighbors were there, but it was just watching even the vendors there. Everyone asked, you had ability to ask questions you can never ask online. And people wanted to learn. And that's what was so cool about it. And that's something that, you know, we definitely are proud to be part of. You know, your message, the kind of person you are, is you're a beautiful person. You really are. And that really does, it's who leads it. So to have all these people there and be like, where AV can be very toxic. Let's not get it twisted.
Sure, it can be.
Nothing like that there.
Nah.
Even the other content creators that we met, everybody was very open. Hey, I watch you, you watch me. It was awesome, man. So I can't wait to go next week.
I appreciate it.
You know, we'll be there longer, so I'm proud to be invited to it. But it's just, you know, I want to talk about it as much as we can because it's something that people get in forums and they get beat up. They're afraid to ask. It's always, and I see that in forums back when I used to go into them is like, hey, it's a stupid question. And then right away you see somebody say, hey, that's a stupid question. Right. I heard many conversations at MWAVE over my shoulder and nobody was anything but helpful. And I even had guys that I was asking about amps. Some of your buddies came back with model numbers for me. You know, really, really helpful, you know, sent me emails, got me on Facebook. It was really, really cool, man. So Just it's incredible. But as a hobbyist, people
Mhm.
look to get better and learn more. And
Yeah.
FOMO and I's community that you see here in this chat, it's not just enthusiasts.
Right.
A lot of people are trying to learn more
100%.
about it, and that's what I think is great about. You have to know this to be part of it. So
Yeah.
you definitely
Yeah.
have a lot of that, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, man. It like I said, my heartbeat is to build up the community, to build up other content creators. There's to me, there's no room for toxicity. You
No.
know, we should be able to get along. We should be able to have fun. Let's hang out together. You know, even if we disagree, even if I think TVs suck, projectors rule, whatever, you know, you should be able to say that and not get offended. And so we're creating an event that people have the freedom to do that. This year, I think we've got 13 seminars. So you were talking about education, you know, so a lot of the vendors and even you guys are going to be doing tech talks in your room on talking about just different topics in regards to TVs. And so we want to bring the experience part, the fun part, the demos, but then also interweave this educational part so that you go home with more knowledge than you came there with. And you can take that knowledge, go home and create a better home theater, create a better TV watching experience, and just be more prepared or more aware as a buyer. You know what to look for in that TV, you know what not to look for in the TV, and to be able to see those first, like, you know, side by side. Right now we're watching, you know, the screen. I don't get what FOMO is getting in real life. Just like when I do a home theater tour, or I talk about the sound and what I heard, you're not going to get that over a microphone. And so MWAVE just provides an opportunity for you, the consumer, not the dealer. They're welcome too, but this event is for you guys, for the consumers to come, experience, have fun, to learn. And I don't know, I'm pumped, man.
Michael,
Yeah.
so we have a question for you. Mark,
Sure.
I see your question, but this question is for you. So I'm going to jump to this and we'll get back to you, Mark, real quick. So Getty asks, for Michael, what is your favorite tower speakers so far? Everything you reviewed and heard and your experience up to this point.
Yeah, so I've had a big opportunity to travel literally around the world, hearing some awesome speakers, man. So where my ears prefer is I ended up flying to Wisconsin. It's probably been 3 years ago. Heard JTR, fell in love with the brand, fell in love with what I was hearing. Incredibly detailed, just powerfully dynamic, high output, low distortion. There's just so many things I liked about it. Wasn't ear fatiguing. And I knew that I was on a mission, you know, and at first it started with the subwoofers, super low extension. I mean, I'm getting flat down to 5 hertz in my room, which is pretty ridiculous. Tons of output. So my theater room, it probably took 3 years to get to that point, but now I've got a full JTR system. So I love JTR speakers. I love how they sound and perform. So to me, my favorite towers so far would be JTRs. Now they don't look great. So if you want to stick them in a living room, they're going to look kind of just plain Jane. They're big rectangle boxes. They're black.
Or some will say they may be the ugliest speakers they've ever seen.
Yeah, but the truth is Jeff
Personality.
Jeff Remainen, the owner of JTR, he designed speakers for performance. Period. He's not looking for something pretty. If you want something pretty, you're just going to pay a premium for it. You're going to pay it, you know. Sony Faber makes beautiful handcrafted speakers, but you may spend $12,000, $20,000, $30,000, $100,000.
But unlike TVs, you don't replace speakers every 5 years. I mean, you could repair them and use them for 30 years. Give it to your children. I love good speakers for that reason.
Yeah, BMWs are 20 years old.
I had a pair of speakers that were Klipsch La Scalas, and they were made in 1980. And I sold them probably 7 years ago. So let that sink in. They were 40 years old when I sold them.
For us, that'd be a black and white TV. With the channel U at the bottom.
I love it. Yeah.
Mark wanted to clarify on-wall mounting of the TV, not the quad. And it's okay, Mark, because the TV, the sound is coming out of top and side not the back, because they assume you might be mounting your TV on the wall.
Mm.
So there
Yeah.
is no wall-facing speaker on the Bravia 9, so you should still be okay. I'm not too worried about it, and because it's, you know, top and side. With the quad, you're going to have the Phantom take care of it, and that's actually what I suggest is, unless you're sitting really far away or your room is really large, the quad is more than satisfying enough as a center, or not at using the TV as a center channel. So definitely try that out. And we have Af Sheen, another question for you, Youth Man. I want to do 4 subs.
Mhm.
I have 2 Klipsches
Mhm.
and 112 SW. I want to
Yep.
add 2 SVS PB1000s
Sure.
Pros. Would that be a problem? So 4
So
subs.
yeah, 112 SW. I just need to see if that is, I can't remember if that, I think it's a port. Okay. So there's 4 ported subs. So that's good. If you were
Mhm.
trying to mix a sealed sub and a ported sub, you can do it, but it's a lot more difficult. It's easier to implement like 4 identical subwoofers, but
Mhm.
absolutely there's plenty of people that have calibrated, uh, you know, 2 subs from one manufacturer and 2 from another. The one thing I would mention to you, especially if you're going to 4, let me know in the chat, do you have like a mini DSP? The mini DSP will
Mm.
allow you to basically come out of your sub out on your AVR. It goes into the mini DSP, and then that has 4 outputs. So each one of those outputs will go to each one of your subwoofers. And then in that software, it's definitely got a learning curve, but it'll allow you to time align them. So you need to basically, if a subwoofer is 2 feet further than the other subwoofer, you need to make sure that they're time aligned so that their bass wave hits you in your listening position at the same time. If you don't have them time aligned, this one up front and this one in back can fight against each other, and you'll get nulls in your room, and you're going to be like, wait, I added another subwoofer, but it sounds worse. Why? Well, they're fighting against each other. So just because you add 2 more subwoofers isn't necessarily going to make it a better experience. You still got to calibrate that. So make sure you do that. But yeah, I don't see any problem with that. The 12s, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to be on par with each other. The PB16, I'm sorry, the PB1000s, I reviewed. I think the smallest one I did was the PB3000. Great little sub. And then, of course, I did the PB16s, which are their, you know, flagship subwoofers. But yeah, dude, rock it out. But I would just encourage you, make sure you learn like a mini DSP. Some AVRs, they'll allow you to hook up 4 subwoofers and they can calibrate those individually. So that might be helpful, but mini DSP would be, it can do wonders for your room for sure, and gives you a lot of flexibility.
Great information, Michael.
And I'm going to answer this question or comment real quick. Hey, Jeffrey. He says the TV on the left is the Bravia 9, center is the G4, and the right is the QM8. Almost. The right is the QM8, the center is the Bravia 9, and the left is the G4. And this kind of, I stopped this scene because it perfectly exemplifies the differences between all the TVs. The G4 is a reference for this image in the sense that the specular highlights are the brightest. Its black levels should be as it is. The Sony black levels most closely matches the G4, right? That's the Sony in the center. On the right, the QM8 tries to match the specular highlights of the G4, but what happens? It's lifting the space black a little bit, right? So if I turn down the exposure, you'll see that, wow, it does match the brightness of the G4. However, the black levels don't quite match. So it's always compromises, right? Each TV brand has their decision. The QM8 did this because they felt the specular highlights were more important than the shadow details. The Sony went the other way, slightly bringing down to accurate the black levels, but that also dims the specular highlights a little bit. And the G4 in this scene, this is its strength. It does it perfectly. So the question for you always is, which is the compromise you're willing to accept? There is no perfect TV. And of course the G4, because it's not super bright, this scene is fine for it, right? So that's just something for you guys to consider. There's no perfect TVs. It's just what matches you. Now, for movie watching, this is irrelevant. Most movies don't look anything like this, but I just had to say that real quick. Now, this is a good question. Christian asked, does the Bravia 9 actually hit 4,000 nits? The answer is no.
It's
It does not hit
40,000.
4,000 nits. 40,000 nits. Oh,
40,000 nits. My mistake. 400,000.
400,000 nits, right? The
Where did
answer
Michael
is
go? Did we lose him? I don't see Michael's picture
no,
anymore.
no, he's here. He's on audio.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's
Somewhere.
sexy.
Yeah.
That sexy voice. Baby.
Yeah, he's looking good in audio only. So 4,000 nits right now is
I don't know what happened.
only.
Up
Oh,
there?
there you are. You're back.
Miss.
So
Must have hit a
the
button.
Bravia 9 is only, or not Bravia 9, 4,000 nits. The TCL 115-inch QM891G is the only TV we know of that can hit above 4,000 or at 4,000. There may be another one, right? The Bravia 9 is the brightest among TVs, not called the 115-inch X955 or whatever they call it in Europe. So I think it's like 2,500 something at a 10% window, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check. I'll show the numbers when I get my review up because Dwayne measured it for me and everything. But ultimately, it does not hit the full 4,000. It just tone maps forth. It's closer. It tone maps 4,000 closer to brightness than any other TV, but it's not 4,000. So yeah, let's get that clarified.
You know,
It's
Michael, real quick.
brighter.
Yeah.
Michael, in projectors, I know you had mentioned the players that you were talking about, JVC,
Yep.
Sony. You had mentioned Epson.
Yeah, sure.
So nobody in the chat knows this, but I'm going to break it now. Is Sony's Rob Brennan is now over at Epson.
Okay, awesome.
And he's absolute legend, and I'm going to definitely have him on. But I did ask him if I could bring it up. They're going to be in a very good place with that guy.
Cool.
You know, being part of that company.
Yeah.
You see them being a player as far as the
100%.
levels. I think.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So Epson's kind of that bang for your buck. So they don't have a not flagship. They don't have a $10,000 projector. They don't have a 20, 25.
Yeah.
They're in that sweet spot of like 5,000 and less. So if you've got a lower budget, you can still get an amazing projector. The 6050 UB, beautiful image. I had a 5040 UB, which was the model like one or two before that. Incredible image. They get really bright. They've got a good looking image. You just don't have those deep, dark blacks that you can get with a JVC.
Well, I think from what I understand, well, I mean, Rob from, again, you guys know him on the channel from Sony. I've had him on a bunch of times, legend. But the fact that he's over there shows you, I think they're making a push towards that level.
Nice.
So I definitely connect you guys together.
That's the thing. I would love to see more competition,
Yeah, he's looking to, and the fact that they have him definitely installs hope for me. But you mentioned them, so I asked him. I said, is this public?" He's like, "Yeah." So I told him I definitely hook him up with you guys because obviously our projector crew is less. But I don't know if you know Rob, but he's a beast. And
I don't know Rob from Epson.
Yeah, Rob Brent. Oh, he was from Sony for many years, and and everybody in the community knows him. But he's over at Epson now, and he's the man. So that definitely means they're making a play for a little bit of the higher end, Michael. So I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it.
Yeah, the LS12000 is one of their new projectors. We had it at MWAVE 2022 and 2023. I think I'd have to go back and look at our website and see if it's on there. It may not be that back this year. This year, what's cool is we actually have much more budget-friendly projectors in our projector comparison room. So if you don't have that $10,000 budget, $20,000 budget, this is the year to come because you're going to see some cool projectors in a really affordable price point.
What's interesting about Rob is we have him talking about TVs all the time. I had no idea that he was more of a projector aficionado.
Yeah.
So when he had left Sony, moved over to Epson, he's like, "Yeah, you guys didn't know, but I'm more of a projector guy." I was like, "Oh, here we go." So it's amazing. So we'll definitely link you guys up.
And real quick, we had a pretty good comment here. And I think, Brian, you could answer this because you had experience with this technology. How much of a visual difference, picture clarity contrast, is a side lit or edge lit, my current 2022 50-inch LG TV? How different is it from a direct lit, more modern TV? And I think, Brian, you've had a few edge lits in your life, right? What have you noticed is the biggest difference? Because I've never owned an edge lit. Yeah,
the edge lit TVs from 2022 is not exactly an old TV. I mean, I'm saying it might be a lower end LG. Is that it's basically the black bars instead of blooming. It's more of what's funny is edge lit. You remember this too, Michael? Was a selling point years ago to say, hey, they're thinner. and the lights are not in the back; they're around the edges. What that created was what we call flashlighting,
Yeah.
which means the black bars were literally like lights jetting up from them, and even the highest end TVs had it. So I'm glad they moved away to full array. Direct lit actually performs like full array in many ways. Edge lit is, you'll notice a big difference in just more even local dimming. Even basic direct LEDs are much better now. So you'll see a big difference even if you stay with direct versus full array. But the edge lit is, to me, was just a disaster. They tried to get too thin, and the whole bottom and corners FOMO were just lit up. So the best edge lit TV was the 930E from Sony, but again, that behaved like a full array local dimming TV. It was super bright, but they were typically not very good, especially if they were lower end. And those LGs at 50 inches were very low end. So sorry.
And before we
Yeah.
move on, I'd like to say
Dan, what's
thank
up,
you
baby?
to Jennifer Gala, who made this video, the ones you're seeing on the TVs, possible. This is,
Yeah.
of course, her content, right? So let's just go. There you go. All that you see down there, that's all her. That's her content.
So Michael, I talked to you
yes.
about her last year. Some of the footage that I showed you. She's a composer, filmmaker. She's absolutely brilliant. She's my favorite creator on the whole platform. She's in Canada.
Yeah.
But her content is off the charts, and it's what I use in all my videos. But it actually does hit
Make that her stuff.
4,000.
What's her name? I'm gonna write it down.
Jennifer Gala.
Her
Gala.
channel is the
Jennifer Gala.
HDR Super Channel.
Okay.
Well, she has two.
HDR Super Channel.
So Jennifer Gala is the bigger channel. She does IMAX movies. I mean, her talent is just amazing.
Okay.
Wonderful person. Second channel is the HDR Super Channel. But
What
it's
was the
not
first
just
one you said?
the first one is just Jennifer Gala. You'll see like
Okay.
what you see on the screen right now.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Sweet.
she's incredible. But I mean, the footage, it's not just like the Spears and Munsell. What's his
We'll be
excellent
using it at
footage.
MWAVE almost
That's-
Yeah,
exclusively.
you'll see it at
Nice.
Movies
but it's
and Jennifer.
but it is so dynamic, Michael. I mean, as
I'm always
far as
looking
like
for good content because I literally at the beginning of the show I was like, man, I want to ask FOMO what he's playing by there because I know it's not copyrighted.
yeah, it's my
but-
girl,
but
dude.
what
It's-
is it? That's awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, all-
copyrighted. No, it's
Yeah.
copyrighted, but
Well,
Jennifer
all-
gives us permission. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jennifer.
but all Jennifer really asks is, I mean, I'm part of her
Just give her
Patreon.
some love. Yeah.
Give her some love. I mean, creators use her stuff. Don't even link her. But the fact is,
Yeah.
we know copyright is real. But her
Yeah.
content is beyond like birds flying. I mean, flames, space. She's got everything. Check her out, you guys in the community. She's a lovely person,
I love it.
amazing talent. And the thing is, too, is Michael, if you download, it's full Dolby Atmos and
Okay.
Dolby Vision.
Okay, cool.
So I know with your home, and I meant to bring this up to
Yeah.
you off camera. I know when you do systems, you don't really play the audio because of compression, obviously.
Yeah.
But copyright is a big part of that.
Copyright's a big part. Plus, people want to hear a multi-speaker. Think about it. I have 11 speakers in my theater
Yep.
room.
Mhm.
How in the world am I going to capture that?
Yeah.
This daggum Rode microphone. I mean, seriously,
Right.
it's not going to
Yeah.
happen. It's a mono.
But
mic.
what's cool about her is what I like about it is that I can actually leave the musical score in,
Yeah.
and it
Jennifer's
still
in the
sounds.
chat. Good to see you, Jennifer.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's a rock star. I love her. But she's
Very
very,
much so.
she's but I mean, now FOMO's also using her footage because it can reach 4,000 nits and she can make 10,000 nit content. So
Wow.
guys,
Well, she
check her out in
did
the
make
chat.
10,000 and almost
did
broke
make
my
it.
TVs. Thank you.
But her
Jennifer.
HDR Super, she has two channels. The first one is great. There's some issues in Canada with content creators right now, so please support her. And she works with a ton of other amazing artists. But HDR Super channel is growing as well. I think it might have just hit 10,000, but she's got 100-something thousand on the other one. But she's all I really have in my videos now. That's why
Nice.
she's incredible. And first of all, real quick, if anybody wonders why it's labeled Dolby Vision, I will fight people over this.
Mhm.
It is Dolby Vision. Just YouTube doesn't have Dolby Vision. If you download it via Patreon, it's Dolby Vision, man. It's Dolby Atmos. But people go after her. So if you're a troll and you're chasing her, please don't. I mean, she's not putting up something false. It is Dolby Vision. It's just YouTube
Right.
doesn't have it. So, but she's amazing. Check her out.
Cool. Just subscribe to
And-
both of them. Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
yes.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah.
But you'll see her
And
stuff there.
Christian-
Oh, Christian.
Christian, thank you. Another regular. And he also attends a lot of your podcasts, I'm sure. Hey, the JVC release was so lazy. We're talking about that update, right, to the NZ series.
Yeah.
Epson needs to get JVC scared again. And so, Christian, I thought
All for it.
Epson scared them 2 years ago when their, what we call budget, but it was their flagship, what, $5,000?
5,000.
You
Yep.
throw a Mad VR and it almost matched
Yeah.
the $25,000 Epson. You're like, wait, then I'll just buy $14,000 VR.
Mhm.
A few thousand for the Epson, and then when I'm ready to upgrade, I'll add the next whatever projector. And this is something that, well, Epson could do it. They've had the time to update their processor. I think it really comes down to processing. But is Epson a brand that you're seeing on the rise, Michael? Because we hear so much about Sony and JVC. Where's Epson in the world of home theater as it comes to
Well, Rob over
the
there, it's going to be different. I'll
serious
say that.
projector?
Yeah. So they haven't come out of the gate yet to make people nervous. Right now, I mean, JVC has been the king of projectors in that space. Again, not talking Christie. That's a whole different league. But in the league of Sony, Epson, JVC, those are really the three primary players in that projector space between, say, $5,000. I know this is a big gap, but $5,000 to $25,000 range. Those are the three primary players. Epson hasn't come out with a projector that like will blow them away, but like FOMO said, it's a dadgum good projector. The LS12000 is a gorgeous image. I had a true story. Very first year we did them, we had probably 8 different projectors behind the audience. They're shooting over our heads. We're looking at 2 screens. They're 150-inch diagonal. So we don't know which ones we're looking at. So we're looking at, let's say, Jennifer Gala's content, and we're looking at these stars back here, and we're noticing maybe the one on the left has got really deep dark blacks, but the right one's really gray, but yet the right one might be brighter than the one on the left. And so, at the end of that, we're like, okay, what do you think you were looking at? Well, I think probably because it had deeper blacks, the left one was the JVC. Well, you were correct. That was the JVC NZ7, and the right one was an Epson LS12000. Well, this guy comes up after that demo, sits down right next to me, and he said, Michael, if I don't get another thing out of MWAVE, I got everything I needed. I said, well, how's that? He said, now that projector over there, the JVC, looks beautiful, but honestly, it's way above my price range and my budget. But man, that Epson, that thing looks beautiful. It's bright, and it's on a 150-inch screen, and I'm only going to be putting it on either 130 or 120. So it'll be even brighter. So he was just so excited. So Epson absolutely makes a great product. I would love to see them enter that 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. And
Michael, they're looking to.
Yeah. And see if they can compete. That's awesome.
That's why I'm talking about you with Rob Brennan, is that's why they brought him on. And I definitely got to connect you guys.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny about that?
Podcast.
But you know what's great, Michael, is when you talk about what you're saying, when something it blows you away and then it's a good value, I'm telling you, it's
yes,
you actually like it more.
Yeah. And that's
you're
where
like, but
ABC NZ9 or NZ900 that's $25,000 to look gorgeous. It better be.
Yeah.
But FOMO and I always $1,000, Epson, you're like, dang.
FOMO and I always talk about his fear of missing out. And then we say, FOMO, what's worse than that is buyer's remorse.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes when you spend that money, you really do, especially as Michael, when you get to like an NZ series, you're like, but for a couple thousand more, I could. And then people start to make maybe bad decisions financially for themselves.
Yeah.
When it goes the other way and you show them, wait a second, this other model, it could be any model.
Yeah.
I actually like that one better. And the fact that you have extra money, it just makes you love it more. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So when good is good enough is probably the best feeling in home theater, because you're not justifying like, damn, that thing was so expensive. Because we see every year after year, right, FOMO, when someone buys a flagship, the next year they're like, wow.
With TVs. Yep. Yeah.
So, Michael, how would you say I know receivers can be 2, 3, 4 years. Projectors, are they every couple of years? What do you see as far as, do they follow a timeline?
Yeah. So typically, here's the good thing with, it's a good and bad. So probably just a few years ago, we were all running off of bulb projectors, and those bulb projectors get about 3,000 hours to half life. So basically the brightness is going to be about half of what it was when you first bought it. So 3,000 hours just depends on how often you use the thing. For me, I might replace a bulb every 3 years. And so sometimes I would sell my projector and upgrade to a new one before I'd have to buy a new bulb. or I would go through one bulb. That's the most I've ever gone through. Now we've got laser projectors, so a laser light source. The great thing about laser light source, you get 20,000 hours. And that, I did the math on it one day, and it was like, I don't know, 20 or 30 years. I mean, it's a long stinking time.
Yeah.
That's running it every day, 8 hours a day. So that's one of the benefits there, if you can get a projector with a laser light source. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool space. We live in a great day and age where we've got so many options, so many great products. But you're right. If you chase the latest greatest, you're going to pay more,
Yep.
and you're going to sell it for less because you're going to lose money on it. So you just got to go into it knowing that. And as long as you're okay with buying something that makes you happy, that meets your needs, and you don't necessarily have to have the latest greatest, man, there's a lot of great options out there for you in both video as well as audio.
And real quick, that's what I thought was so impressive with SVS.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
We were
Lots of
in,
value.
yeah, and I have these Polk Legends, and they need a certain amp and all these different things. And FOMO and I sat in SVS with their whole setup, and I have their 4,000 those tube subs.
Yeah.
And then I remember sitting there, and I was talking to them. I was like, what amp are you using? They're like, none.
That's an AVR. Yeah.
They used their AVR, and I was actually annoyed. I'm like, if I had just talked to you guys, I would have skipped all these monster timber mats. I would have spent. So I mean, and I know, I think we had the speakers on the Lazy Susan, which was awesome.
Yeah.
When they did a sound test, FOMO and I were blown away by it, right, Michael? So you can walk us through real quick. You did that. You did the speakers. You rotated a piece of content, and it was amazing, the different prices.
Yeah. So are you talking about the speaker comparison?
Yeah, that was really impactful.
Yeah. So the speaker comparison, one thing we do at MWAVE is we try to take the bias out of it. So think about this. When you're looking at a TV, if you know it's a Sony, your brain's going to tell you certain things that you know about Sony. Yep. If you look at a TL or TCL, your brain is going to automatically be looking for things that you know or believe to know that TCL is known for. Yep. But what if we just do what FOMO did? We've got 3 TVs behind, all identical. We hide the logos, and you're just looking at the image quality. Then you get to remove the bias, and you begin to just look at it for what it is. What is the picture quality? What are the colors like? How bright is it? What is the black level look like? What about motion? How does each one handle it? And then you can objectively, for the most part, look and make a determination of what you like. And sometimes we find when we do these comparisons, there's less differences than we think. Like they're more similar than we thought. Our brains were like, oh yeah, this should be this is night and day. We hear that a lot in audio.
Dude,
man, I upgraded to this, and it was night and day. And you put them side by side.
You mean the cables, the cable risers?
Yeah. Yes.
We did that with the processors too, right, Michael? We had the processors where they got so expensive, and they're like, and the next one, I'm like, did you really change it? He's like, I did. I was like, okay. I mean, just
and on the flip side, there was one point where, and what he's talking about, we had different AVRs. So we had one from, let's say, Onkyo, one from Pioneer, one from, I'm just making them up, Yamaha, Denon. And so Bob was over there with a switcher. And so you'd be listening to a audio clip, and then he would switch it to something else, maybe to a Denon. And then after a few seconds, he'd switch it to an Anthem. After that, he'd switch to a Yamaha. And then we'd talk about, what did you hear? And at one point, he's like, raise your hand, when you hear a difference. And at first nobody was moving. Then somebody raised their hand. And when that person did, somebody else started raising their hand. And at the end of it, he started laughing. And he's like, guys, you have no idea. That whole demo, I didn't change a thing. And you're like, oh, I hear a difference. So our brains can mess with us.
Oh, no doubt. No
biases can tell us we're hearing things or seeing things that really aren't there. So again, it's not meant to be a competition. We don't do shootouts. It's literally, we just want to put some things side by side, give you some cool experiences, and just remove as much of the bias from it as we can.
And just real quick, I'm going to get some super chats. Luis Gonzalez has been patiently waiting. What's the best 98-inch TV at the moment? TCL QMate 2024 or the Sony X90L? If none of these, which would you recommend, or would you wait? So 98-inch TV, the TCL QMate for 2024 my prediction, it will be the best. The Sony X90L is actually probably 2 generations behind at this point. It doesn't have mini LED. It doesn't have that 22-bit control of the Bravia 9 this year. The QM8 for 2024 is completely updated with TCL's best technology for this year, the QM851G at the 98-inch size. Assuming it looks anything like what we're seeing with the 65-inch, get it. It is going to be an amazing 98-inch TV. Now, I don't know what the price is for the 98-inch. It's like
somebody said it's
10,000,
98
right?
is $25,000. Michael Cohen.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
So, whew, it's
on up there.
let's just wait until it comes down to 16,000.
Exactly.
But it is great though. It is such a good TV.
So Michael,
But,
then you're like, well, actually, Projector's pretty reasonable. Because
Get a
then I can already,
projector. Yeah.
Michael, I can already see the guys going, "Hey man, look, you ain't gotta buy that screen. I have an L, this." So you can definitely. I never thought I'd see the projector guys go, "Wait a second, we're
Wait,
the
wait.
affordable group."
That's right. That's
Now,
right.
Samsung has a QN90D that's 14,000, and it may not have the oomph of the QM8, but it's good. It's got the mini LED, it's got the dimming zones, but man, I'd say wait, because so much of this technology is going to start trickling upward. It's in size. Bravia 9, for example, where is Hisense going to be with UX at 110 inches? So next year, I think we're going to expect, I mean, if you guys are impressed with what you're seeing now, which I am totally, with the QM8 and the Bravia 9, next year will trickle down to the cheaper sizes, and at the highest performing large size, it's only going to get better and more affordable. So I say wait if you're shopping there, because you're not going to be swapping 98-inch TVs every 2 years, right? So
No, and it's
if
not.
you can wait, I say wait a year.
And from what we always say, people in the chat are like, "Hey, give that to me." I'm telling you right now, in real life, I don't sell my stuff. No one is gonna come get that. They're like, "Wait, where?" You have no idea how
What?
big that TV is.
Yeah. Can't give it away.
Nope. And I have to tell you guys that the Sony appears more dim in the spectral highlights than it is, only because my exposure is taken down. So it looks a lot worse than it is, but yes, the QM8 is that good.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause
Starfield's
this
gonna be
is-
tricky for a minute.
This Starfield, I mean, look at the QM8, right? It's. I was impressed before. Now, this is the strength of the QM8. We go into shadow detail. You guys, oh, it's crushing this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it's the specular highlights that the QM8 designed it for. And I'm telling you, man, it's looking phenomenal. Can't lie. So, all right, we have another super chat. JW, do you guys think that OLED break-in times make a big noticeable difference over time, or just minimal? It's minimal, but still, if you're going to calibrate it, you got to let it do its 200 hours, because there's enough of a settling in period that the calibrator will be like, no, I'm not going to touch it for another 100 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah, we break
because, yeah, you got to let it break in. And more importantly, though, you might have issues like stuck pixels. I had a stuck pixel on my S95D. I ran the aging pattern that's on the Spears and Muscle benchmark, ran it for like 5 minutes. Then I ran the pixel refresher, and it was gone. But if you don't break it in, you don't get a chance to see those things, right? So
yeah.
Now,
the best part about OLEDs though is screen uniformity does improve. So if you have DSC on an LED, that's your end all be all. With OLEDs, you have some banding. Pixel refresh does help, and after a few hundred hours, that's why returning OLEDs is dicey, because the manufacturer is going to tell you, "Hey man, let get 200 hours in." And the screen uniformity will be better.
And well, actually, I was going to ask Michael, is there a break-in period for projectors?
For projectors, not really. I mean, some projectors.
Another win. It's another win there, Michael.
Yeah, projectors they'll dim a little bit more so on the bulb than they do with the lasers. Lasers are a lot more steady, and they kind of maintain their brightness over time. But there's still a new format, so we don't even know. Somebody mentioned in the chat the 20,000 hours is at half-life as well. It doesn't mean it's going to blow up or break. Basically, by that time, though, you're going to want a new projector more than likely, because that's 5-10 years down the road, and technology is just going to be leaps and bounds better 10 years than it was when you bought it. But really, projectors, not so much. Definitely not, in my opinion, definitely not with speakers and subwoofers. And there are some guys that claim, You need 100 hours on your speakers before they really open up. No, they don't. Your ears, or remember what we were talking about bias? Your brain says, "Oh yeah, they sound better than they did 6 months ago." How do you remember what you heard 6 months
Or
ago?
can I talk about that? Because the research is so good with psychoacoustic.
Yes.
If you come into a double-blind test angry, you're going to prefer a certain sound. You go into the double-blind test, same music, but you're relaxed. You're going to prefer a different sound, right? Because when you're distracted, you hear certain things more clearly than when you're relaxed. You prefer certain things, and so maybe it's the cable, whatever it is. It's
That's
all
cool.
up here. Or if you come in right after you wake up, very different. Then at the end of the day, you're tired. Your hearing acuity drops, and when it drops, then certain frequencies you're more sensitive to. And it's the same with eyesight, right? You come in from a bright outdoors, you got to give it a few minutes to adjust. Vice versa, right? You walk outside, it's really bright, and so hearing is no different. And a lot of people they do these blind, and this is why double blind tests are so hard for me when I do it on my channel. I have to make it like one after the other, right? Because you guys see it in my sound demos. It's like
it needs to be instant.
1.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds. But if I run it for 5 seconds, if I run it again, by the time you hear the first second of that thing, it's like, wait, what did I hear again?
It all blends together. Yeah, it's hard. It really is hard.
It really is. So yeah, I even though quote unquote double blind is a standard, it doesn't take into consideration the psych part of psychoacoustics, because if you wait long enough, you might get hungry and things change, right? Or
if you're stuck in traffic, that thing's a piece of crap.
He's making fun now. 10 minutes later, my stomach was okay.
And the lights have to be off, right?
It's like that Snickers commercial. You're not yourself when you're hungry. These things are garbage. Did you eat? I didn't eat. Get yourself something to eat, then come back and review these.
Yeah, and now before we let you go, Michael, because I know I promised you no more than 90 minutes. We're on the 1 minute 45, and it's Friday. I know you got family obligations as well as you, Brian. So I'm going to wrap things up first. I know, right? Yeah.
Fine.
Just as a wrap up, the TVs you guys are seeing is from left to right: the LG G4, Sony Bravia 9, and TCL QM8. This is a spoiler for everyone who showed up and waited this long. So let's get to the core of the differences between the Bravia 9, the G4, and the QM8. If you guys haven't already noticed, and I know you're noticing now, the Bravia 9, amazing shadow detail that matches the G4. However, in order to get there, it does compromise the specular highlights a little bit compared to the QM8. The QM8 specular highlight is, as I've said before, I've never seen anything come so close to OLED, ever. That is so hard to do, and the compromise is the shadow detail they're willing to take, which is that slight crushing. So the Bravia 9, on the other hand, its shadow detail is OLED-like. So each of these TVs have their OLED-like, but it's like two sides of the same coin. Now, the G4 falls behind both of them. If these images hit 4,000 nits, and it's a blue, it's a green, right, it's a red, the G4 will not be able to display those colors at all. It'll be lighter shade of red, lighter shade of blue, and both the Bravia 9 and the QM8, and it'll be hard to show here, so I'll show you on my reviews, but both the 9 and the 8, that's when they both flex over the G4. And right here, you see the G4, wait, what does the G4 look like? It's a deeper red because it's overexposing to this exposure, which is right now for the G4. That's why. If I exposed it for the others, then suddenly, right, it'll go, well, it's a little bit dimmer than I expected. But again, it's very minor. What's amazing to me is not so much that they perform so closely, it's that the QM851G, Michael, are you ready? That thing is $1,300.
Oh yeah.
The G4 is over $3,000, almost 3 times more expensive. The Sony is now $2,800. In between, for the QM8 to perform that well, I cannot but recommend the QM8 if, you know what, I'm really on a budget. I could only spend up to $1,500. Oh, don't even save up, just get it. Because none of these TVs are $1,000 better or $2,000 better. But if cost is no object, then you could take a lot of things into consideration. Audio, OLED, infinite contrast. So that's the quick wrap up for you guys. Now, everyone, we're going to have a live stream of the MWAVE event, right, Michael? We're going to cover our TV comparisons. We might try to get some of the stuff in the other rooms and tell us. My favorite last year was your subwoofer the surround comparison.
Mhm.
You did such a phenomenal job setting up on these stands the full, what was it, 7.2.6 system, comparing Anthem Arc, Odyssey,
Sure.
Storm Audio's Dirac.
Yeah.
And did you have Trinov last year? I forgot.
We didn't have Trinov.
Are you going to have it this year? Are you going to do the same thing this year?
No, that is all right. And so number one, I did not do that. So that, I mean, big hats off to Bob. Bob ran that whole
Bob.
setup.
Yes.
He hooked it up. He was in there running the show. Ryan, of course, coordinated with him, but Bob was the star, man. He's the one that made that happen for us. But that is a huge, huge endeavor. And each year we just want to do some different things. So Ryan is doing a comparison for, and this year we're putting him on a schedule so that going into it, the schedule's on the website, so you can find out, okay, on Saturday it's from this time to this time, and on Sunday it's from this time to this time. Same thing with all the seminars, they're on there. So we've got everything lined up so you can plan out your weekend. But he's going to do a streaming versus high fidelity blind test.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is for audio?
No, this will be video. I think it's video. I'm assuming because it's home theater based, we're probably doing like a, but again, I don't know. Here's the thing. Ryan has been building his MAVVR Experience Center in his home and in his showroom. So I've gotten very little information on what the specifics are for that room. And if he's doing just 2-channel, if it's audio, if it's that, I don't know. So it'll be a mystery to me as well as to you. But either way, we're gonna have some fun with it. So
now, can I want to talk about this whole thing with streaming versus disc, Kaleidoscape, just high bitrate content as far as audio, right?
Yeah.
I think on video, to me, it really does look indistinguishable more often than not, right?
Video's looking great. We were watching on the last
great,
night,
right?
NZ800. Even on YouTube, look awesome, look really, really good. But you play a movie, it's in 5.1 and it's compressed and lack of bass, and there's just so many issues there audio wise.
And the one thing that I've been told, now I haven't tested it myself, but I'm just going to say that the industry that, and when I say industry, the infamous they, the man, whoever that ends up being, right? Streaming is a different audio format now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more compressed, and they're going to remove lower bass. And I think it's something like they're cutting it off at, I'm just going to make this up, 40 hertz or 30, something like that.
Yeah, they're kind of neutering the bass. Yeah.
Right. And they have to, not because it saves bandwidth per se. That's a different discussion. But rather, most people streaming video, Netflix, are listening on headphones or watching on.
Yeah, they don't want to damage them.
Right. There you go. Right. It damages it, and you can't hear it. It doesn't go below 80 hertz. Like, what's the point? And because that's the thing, like, you know what? Then we're not going to damage anything. So if you guys are streaming and you're streaming through a high-end theater, you're going to be like, wait, what happened to my bass? Now, they're focused on surround. So they're going to give you all the surround. But there's a lot of compression. And then we go to compression. The dynamics will be gone because headphones aren't as great. Cheap headphones or AirPods aren't as great for dynamics than a high-end system. And, you got noise canceling going on. They're taking all that into consideration. So now you're streaming audio. All you're getting is surround, but everything else is going to be compressed, brick wall, no low bass. So if you guys have a decent system, you guys got to get disc, Kaleidoscape, or some digital version that is a high quality, right?
Yep, 100%.
But,
yeah,
and
it can be a Blu-ray.
Is that what you guys?
4K player. It doesn't have to be $500, $1,000. There's some great affordable options out there, or a player like a Zadu or Zapedi. I think there's one called Dune. I'm not familiar with it, but you can get those and take your media, rip them. You can download some free. On my channel, I found out that Trinov has on their website, you can download like 8 of their trailers for free. So think of like Dolby Atmos trailers, but Trinov made them. These are fantastic. So you can download that, play it through a device that can play an MKV file. So most TVs aren't going to be able to play that. Even some of the Blu-ray players and such, like Oppos, of course, most of those can play it. Some of the Panasonics can play it. But your Zadoux, Zapedi, Arvolution, Dune players, all of those can play that file.
And are you doing comparisons to see if that's the case at MWAVE, comparing between streaming and is that
Again,
what
I have
Ryan's
no
gonna do?
idea what Ryan. I asked him for a description.
He's like, it's top secret. Nope,
Yeah.
gotta go.
Hey, FOMO, my alarm just went off and said, I got your podcast in 30 minutes.
You ready?
I'm sorry, friends. And just real quick, funky angle. I'm about 35 to 45 degree angle right here. I pulled my camera all the way, and that looks okay, right? It's not the OLED is on the far left. It's not as bad as people say it is. I mean, I noticed a slight difference. So
That's
just so people are wondering,
yeah,
how's the off angle? It's not terrible. If you took a meter to it, yes, you're going to notice it, but it's not like, oh my God, get me the OLED. I mean, look at the QM8, right? So just something to think about.
Dimming for a second from the QM8 and the Bravia 9. I mean, the fact that you had, this kind of content, the local dimming is amazing on both of them.
Oh, I don't even talk about local dimming anymore, only because now I think we're there. I'm very happy. If I paused on certain scenes, yes, you will see slight, but even now in a light controlled room, I'm like, I'm okay with it. If it's bad, I'll call it out. Black bars, if black bars are like, oh, that black bar is no bueno. Like the U8N, I felt it was too noticeable. It was even, but it's still noticeable. But the Bravia 9 just made it, and the QM8 is just phenomenal when it comes to black control. So, all right. And okay, hey, Youth Man, before you leave, what's happening on your channel? Or nothing, because MWAVE is next weekend.
Even like today, I'm like, yeah, man, I need to do a video. Oh, I got a podcast in 30 minutes.
No.
I had four phone calls today about MWAVE, and I'm ordering food because this got dropped. And I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so I'm pretty much, it's all about MWAVE, man, to plan for this event, especially planning an event. I live in Florida, the event's in Kansas City, so that puts some challenges there. But we've got some great brands that are going to be there, and got some great folks like FOMO and Brian that been a huge support, man. I love what you guys do. I love what you stand for and the community that you both developed on your channels, the positivity, the education value. You guys are truly scholars in your field, and just a wealth of knowledge. And so I appreciate both of y'all, even just personally, man, your friendship, the camaraderie, the support that we give each other. I think that says a lot about your character.
We appreciate it, and we feel the same way. I mean, that's why we're very honored to be part of it, and to meet all these new people that are enthusiasts, they're hobbyists, they're learning, and also we've met some new people that are becoming creators in their own right, and we're always looking to encourage that and subscribe to each other, and it's amazing. Like you mentioned, toxicity. Something that was always rampant in both this hobby and on YouTube is it just won't exist. We won't even acknowledge it. So why am I so big right now?
I don't know. I think
we're wrapping up, and well, you're big because I wanted to bring this into this.
Is it my birthday?
Productions.
It's not my birthday this weekend.
No,
it's your birthday this week.
It's all of our birthdays. It's Father's Day.
Oh, Father's Day. That's right.
Every production has this great comment I want to hit. If this was a movie, content, and shows, sports, not YouTube videos or demos, the conversation would be mind-blowing, and the benefits of the Bravia 9 would shine. Absolutely. Because it's just going on and on. I cannot create a script that would not get copyright struck. I'll tell you this, and this is why the Bravia 9 wins my heart, and Brian as well. And if you haven't seen it, Michael, you'll see it at the show.
Yes.
For movies, it's just mind-blowing how impactful it is. Now, if it's like Columbo, they all look the same.
Yeah.
But if you're going to watch, and I'll have this one movie we talked about, Alpha. Wow. On the Bravia 9. It was like they designed this movie for the Bravia 9 from 2018. Like, oh, look at it now, right? But other impactful movies, what are you laughing at? Pan,
Michael,
all that stuff.
Hold on, stop where you are, Michael. We were at Sony, because they pay us, and we're bought by them. Actually, I have a Sony tattoo.
Yeah, your skills.
Wait. Keep on talking. Let me get my gear.
So Michael, they're showing this movie right on the reference monitor. It's like this caveman movie, and it's a Sony movie, 4,000 nits, and the guy that was showing it on the monitor like helped build it, and we're like, wow, man, room full of people. How is the movie? Oh, it's terrible. Because all of us wanted to buy. Oh, it's awful.
So in all fairness, we do the same thing in home theater space. There are movies that we play. The movie's kind of junk, but it's got a couple cool demo clips in it, so we use them over and over. But the movie's it's all right. Not the best.
Remember that guy said during the thing, we're all like, "Oh, how is the movie?" He goes, "Oh, it's terrible."
Like Mario Brothers, we ran Mario Brothers on a loop.
We lost the stream last year because of that.
Until they finally cut me off. Okay, that's enough Mario Brothers. They discovered, right? Look at this. You know, my only merch is an LG cap. I have nothing from Sony. I have nothing from Hisense. I have nothing from I have a mug from TCL, and I have this cap.
You know why?
I should wear this all the time.
It's because they didn't have any money left over. They gave you all the money. I'm just feeding the trolls at this point, you know.
Because you know, Michael, they're gonna look at this part and go, "He did admit it. They all
part of admitted it. All of them. They're bought. I knew it." And then they're gonna have this video. Doug, I'm unsubscribing. All right.
So Doug,
hey, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Doug is the family of Mr. and Mrs. Cosmo that had just passed away. So happy Father's Day to that entire family, to Doug and the rest of the Cosmo family. We just had a big loss in our community. Mr. Cosmo passed away. His wife passed away a few days later. Happy Father's Day to all the men in that family and all the fathers and all the single moms too for Father's Day. I always kind of throw them in there too. But any big plans for Father's Day, Michael? What we got going on?
I have no idea. I had to move something really heavy. My daughter said, "Don't look at it, Dad," but I need help moving it because it's really heavy. It's a little box like this, weighed about 60 pounds. I have no idea.
Gold bars.
I think it's gold bars. I
don't know what it is, moving drugs.
Honestly,
Dad put this in the car.
It's probably something I got to put together, you know. So that's
this is for you.
Hey, Dad, bought you a present. Spend the next 3 hours putting it together. So, yeah, we're just gonna hang out at home, probably cook dinner. Just enjoy some time.
Cool. Awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I have to say, it's such a joy having you, Michael.
Thanks, brother.
I know you're a busy man. Thank you for coming on.
Super busy, but here's what I tell people. I don't have time, I make it. And the reality is you make time for the things that are important to you. And so something like this is super important, you know, so appreciate it, Kevin. But yeah, I want to be a supporter of you guys. You guys have been great supporters of MWAVE and super grateful for that. We're going to keep pushing things and just have fun and just build up the community in the process together.
Yeah. And look, you know, we're all the same on and off camera. And I've again followed Michael for about 5 years.
For sure.
Before I met him, and I met him at MWAVE last year and I got a big hug from him. And, you know, you're just as authentic as they come. And we had a lot of personal conversations this year. And he is who he says he is, and you know, it's being authentic is super important. And you're one of those guys, so you have us forever, and you know, we'll be there to support you. Appreciate it.
I'm the same goober on and off camera, man. I mean,
yeah, so are we actually. People are a little disappointed. They're like, "Damn, same guy, almost exactly the same."
I was kind of hoping he was a little whatever nicer.
I know, like what happened, right?
Except he's bigger than me in person. I think it's like a little
no. Actually, Brian is even bigger and taller than
he is, dude. Right, Brian walks up and he's like, "What's up, youth man?" I'm like,
yeah. You know, what's funny about, we talked about that last year, and then all of a sudden it was a Kyle Bliss walks by me.
Yeah,
he's a monster.
Gosh, yeah. And everybody in Kansas City's like 6'4".
Yeah, it was like the smallest guy there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
I get to the airport and it's like, oh, barbecue everywhere. Like the minute you step out of the airport, barbecue, pizzas, hot dogs. Like, oh my God.
I am catering barbecue for the VIP dinner, so you're gonna get more barbecue this year.
Wait, are we VIP? Because I know we're just the help.
No, you're the content creators. So all the content creators are invited to join us Saturday night.
Very cool.
Exciting.
You didn't even know that. You probably didn't read my emails, but that's okay.
No. I got caught.
Almost
I'm like looking at him now. I'm like, hold on a second.
He's looking at those. He's too busy looking at those sponsor emails or the toothbrush holders.
How much is Sony paying? Did you get a check from Samsung yet? Wait, what about LG?
Well, you get the spandex offers too, right? I got one the other day. It's a
Spandex?
all kind. Trust me, they get some all kinds.
Oh
of stuff.
my
I had
gosh.
one that was a scuba dive, like a pool cleaner. It looked like a robot that's diving under the water. It's like a little, the mowers, the electronic mowers out there, like a robot. There's one of these in the water, and they're like, "Hey, youth man, love your content. We think this would be a great fit for your audience. Would you review our pool cleaner?" Oh
A pool cleaner.
I get that about like stand-up desks every day. Hey man, your audience, I know it's all TVs, but how about
Hey, I got nothing wrong with reviewing a stand-up desk. I got one here from Vori. Vori, you guys rock, man. Y'all hook me up. I'll use it every day.
I love it.
Michael's like,
I'm still overwhelmed by the spandex. I don't even know how to say that.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have some
tight pants and what's happening?
I need some of that. Come on, where's that for me?
I got offered for a robot pool cleaner. I'm like, wait, I don't have a pool. What is? Do I have to go out and buy a pool now? A robot pool?
Just throw it. Go throw it in the beach. There you go. Enjoy your Kelly. Oh man.
Yeah, it's craziness.
Where are you from? What are you just walking around? You done?
You know what? I wanted to change the viewing angle a bit.
There you go.
But it's all over the place. But it's just having fun. It's so
hot
hard
mic,
to
baby.
understand, right?
Hot mic, baby. Hot mic.
Hot mic. Okay. And you guys need a sitcom, FOMO with Youth Man on there. Call it Pay Me Later.
Pay Me Later. I love it.
Hey, we're the Saturday Night Live of home theater is what I try to tell people. And we're going to make it fun for you guys at MWAVE as well. So catch our live stream event. We're going to cover it on the 21st, 22nd. Is it 2 days or 3 days?
3 days. Friday. FOMO. Are you serious? Friday night.
I know.
FOMO, when you flying in?
Not only does he not read my emails, he doesn't even know when the event starts. Probably had to book his flight.
I'm rolling in. Wait, why is everyone packing up?
It starts on Sunday, right? Starts on Sunday?
Friday night.
So,
Saturday, all day, and all day Sunday.
Okay, so
Brian, we're flying in Thursday anyway.
We're gonna fly on Thursday, and
Tuesday.
Wow. We have to fly on Thursday to get Sony set up because they're bringing their giant 98-inch, bringing everything for us because they want to show it off. And they asked me, "Hey,
they're paying you anyway, baby."
Wait, no. Andrew of Sony. Andrew of Sony. I don't know if you're listening, Andrew. He asked me, "Wait,
Andrew's awesome, dude.
What other TVs will you have there? I need to be prepared for disappointment just in case." I go, dude, the TCL QM8 75 inch is going to be there. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Andrew's excited about the Bravias, man. He's excited.
Oh yeah, he's excited.
He's going to be hanging out with us. Yeah, heck yeah.
We're going to have fun. So yeah, you guys will see him on the stream. So we might have a late night stream just to talk about it if we can, right, Brian? But for sure, Saturday we're going to cover it, maybe a few hours, go through some of the things that we have, and then on Sunday maybe we'll cover a few more things, explore the place, and then I fly out on Monday and I'm back with all you guys, my 11 fans, next week.
You have fans?
Wow. All right. Okay then. Brian, what are you doing next week? What are they waiting for? Oh, before I go, let you guys know, Bravia 9 review coming out this weekend before I head out. So either Sunday or Monday, my Bravia 9 review will be out. It'll be compared to the QM8 and the OLED, or actually it'll be compared to OLED first. I'm going to bring out the QM8. That's a dedicated video. I don't want it to run too long. So Bravia 9 versus the 3110 versus OLED G4 S95D by the end of the weekend, and then we'll talk about QM8 after that. That way I can separate the discussion. Okay, what's happening in your world, Brian, this week?
So I have the S90 QD OLED behind me. That'll either be up tomorrow or on Father's Day. Then we have a dedicated Bravia 9 reference monitor tech therapy video. We're going to shoot that tomorrow or shoot that Monday, have that up before we leave. And then I'll just be at MWAVE, and we'll do some shorts from MWAVE, and then we'll do some follow-up videos about MWAVE like we did last year. Dude, it's a great time to be doing what we're doing, especially seeing a lot of us come together. Yeah. And dude, it's amazing. I can't wait. And even FOMO, I'll tell you this, Michael, FOMO said to me, he's like, I'm like, well, I gotta shoot this. He goes, you're not shooting anything there. Just go rock, go be you. And I definitely can't wait to really just, I'm there. I'm there a day before and a day after.
It's easy for us to just get into like work mode. And I made this decision the first year of MWAVE. do I go there as the content creator, or do I go there to connect with people? And I chose that first year to connect with people, and that was the perfect decision. And so I want you guys, yes, you're working, you're doing your thing, you're educating, but enjoy it, man. Enjoy meeting your fans, enjoy educating, enjoy just talking to people about life, and take that personal, and get some demos, man. Let FOMO take the show. He's like, you told me I can go have fun, so leave for like a couple hours and just go do some demos, and then come back and tell him, oh, you missed it, man. These things are awesome over here.
He's gonna roll in on Sunday. Well, it was Sunday with a Hawaiian shirt, straw hat, a shake. I'm here. Like, dude, I'm just carrying the TVs back.
Last year, him and I were like a couple. We're going in each room and sitting there. And then someone's like, "The hell are you guys doing here?" I was like, "Who's manning the TV room?" I'm like, "Actually, I don't know."
Nobody knows.
Yep.
I got my good friend Brittany Darden is in the chat. Brittany, what's up? She
and we know there's steak. We're gonna grab a shelf steak there. Now, my Father's Day present to you, Jimmy, and many of you, is answering this question. FOMO, can you give people color accuracy pointers on how to get them close when you do the video coming up? Let me tell you right now how to get it close. On the TCL QM8, put it in movie mode, turn dynamic tone mapping off, you're done. It's that good out of the box. That's for the QM8 501G. On the G4 filmmaker mode, you're done. On the S95D filmmaker mode, tone mapping static, and of course on the G4 tone mapping is off. And on the Bravia 9 professional mode, it's set, and make sure it's on gradation preferred. You can play with the dimming zone, local dimming on high or medium, your taste. One gets you a bit more of this, one the other. I like it high, some like it medium. But other than that, it's wonderful to be a TV consumer of flagship TVs, Michael, because almost all these TVs have solid accuracy out of the box. Now, calibration will get you closer, and that's why I have the reference monitor, which is calibrated, so you can see out of the box how far off is it that you know what, it's close enough. And if you can't tell, and many of you say, oh, it's YouTube, you can't tell, I will tell you if it's close enough. And to me, these TVs are so close. G4 not calibrated, S95D not calibrated, and I'm happy with the colors. In the past, TCL, I needed it calibrated. It was so bad. They hit it this year, so yes, it's going to be great.
And that's good to know, because that saves the consumers money if they don't have to calibrate it and still get a good picture. Calibration will get you a better picture quality, but if you're like, man, I don't have the budget for it, or you're just like, it's good enough, I love the picture quality, saves you money, and that's always a good thing.
I blame you, Michael, for calling out the spandex. Now they want me to start a fans only channel where people wear spandex. Like, what kind of TV?
I'm curious about the thumbnails on that one, man.
You're a man of God. You're a man of God.
I have some Motley Crue zebra spandex.
I also like to have good, clean fun.
Hey, you know what? You know what they say? Would Jesus wear it? I think if there was spandex back then, who knows?
Yeah, man. Rock those zebra Motley Crue spandex.
Right. The bicycle shorts, right? All of our good friends from the Middle East wearing bicycle shorts 2,000 years ago. Okay, and with that image that we cannot unsee.
I'm like, what the hell
I've ever had in my life. I love it.
He always risks the entire channel at the end, Michael. He always says something in the last 3 seconds, like, hey, by the way, I'm going to take my channel away. Let's do it.
Well, this way I can edit out just this last part. Until next time, everyone, stop the FOMO, and happy Father's Day, everybody.
Yep. Take care,
guys.